2021 version, we kind of minimized Docker this year. Probably too much. So anyway, Docker run, I'm going to run Ubuntu, which is Ubuntu server, all by itself, and we'll just add a user here, or xrob or something, and make a password. Why am I doing this? Because I want you to see what it's like to have an absolute vanilla account, right, that I can throw away. Yes, and then I can change over to that user. And now we're here. You'll notice we don't have any configuration whatsoever for bash. This is just, and we did this last week. Does everybody remember doing this last week? So let's actually copy, quiz time. How do I copy my bash configuration over to this new Docker image? What do I need to do? And why do I use bash? Okay, so where's my bash thing? So what was the command for following, by the way? I can't remember that one. What's the command for following a symlink? I think it's actually follow. I don't have to remember. I need to look it up. We wrote about it in here though. Set so stty base copy dash L, capital L. Okay, there we go. So capital L. SCP, don't forget the semicolon. Yes. Essentially, you can't use SCP in this case. But yeah, let's do that. So we're going to copy, and we're going to do the equivalent of copy with Docker, which is docker copy dash capital L tilde slash binrc bash rc to temp. But we're going to copy it to this device, colon slash temp. Okay. And that's how to get, that's basically SCP on Docker. And how's it going? And then we go over here. And now what I can do is I can copy. Okay, here's a quiz. How do I reinitialize my shell without logging out and logging back in? Ready to go. Stuff we covered already. Bash RC to here. Oh my gosh, where's my colors? There it is. Source doesn't do it. It doesn't do it. It doesn't give you a fresh login shell. So the correct answer is exec bash dash L. Sourcing does not do it. Sourcing really doesn't do it. And it will also mess up some of your variables, especially the ones that append to the end of a path. So it's not just exec bash either. The only proper way to do this is to re-exec a new bash as a login shell. So exec bash dash L. That's the only correct answer. Every other option that uses source is not doing the same thing. And I'm not going to go through what it's not doing that right, but please make sure you'll understand the difference, okay? If you're just sourcing something after having already done it, you're not creating a new process. And do not forget the dash L for login. This is something I learned 2 years ago, actually, when I started streaming. I've been doing exec bash my whole life, and I was messing up because there were certain elements of it that from the login shell that were not being used. So as far as I know, as of this moment, the only true way to get a fresh login shell as if you had logged in and logged back out, or logged out and logged back in, is exec bash-l. And then to do that, you get your shell, you get all your new settings, and you get a reinitialized set of aliases. If you do the source thing, for example, let me give you an example of why the source thing doesn't work, okay? If you do the source thing and you've removed an alias or you've removed a variable from your bash RC, it will still be there. Because unless you set up and your bash RC resets for everything before you set them, then you're just going to be incrementally adding to them. You're like, why is that thing still there? Well, then you'd always say, well, I could just unset it, and you could. But if you make an extensive set of changes to your bash RC and you want to just get them all at once, including removing and cleaning stuff up from your bash RC, the only way to ensure that you're throwing out all the old stuff that you got rid of and you're adding new stuff is exec bash-l. Okay, so here we are logged in, and as you can see, I have this same shell, and thank you for the follow, that shows you how I was before. You can see, you almost can't even tell that I'm running in a Docker container, and the purpose for this, of course, is to practice RVI. So let's just go ahead and try to edit, I don't know, let's make a directory. Let's just do, I don't know, foo.md or whatever. Oh, hey, look, there's no vi command here. All right, how do I install a VI command? I'm not even in sudoers. I'm gonna be sure. I'm gonna be really careful not to exit here. There we go. So apt update. I don't think there is a -y. Apt update. Yeah, I always mix up update and upgrade. Apt update is gonna get all my stuff. It's another reason to use Docker containers to practice and stuff. So apt install -y. It's actually apt-get if you're going to script it. What's the difference between apt and apt-get? We already covered that too. And why would you use both? When would you use either one? It's actually in the man page if you want to go read it. Apt install -y vim. Okay, so if you don't have Vim, that's how you can install it. We don't have man pages for any of that stuff because we haven't, you can unminimize a Ubuntu image, but it's not part of this lesson. So yes, upgrade updates the OS. Okay, but what's the difference between apt and apt-get? We covered that already, but I just want to make sure people know. Okay, so, and if you say it's just a shortcut for the other one, you're incorrect. Why? It's meant for humans, apt-get is meant for scripts. Okay, that's the answer. And if you don't know why, you can just go read it here. It actually warns you about it. It's intended for end-user interfaces and enables some options better suited for interactive uses by default compared to the more specialized apt-get. Apt-get is guaranteed to have consistent behavior and should be scripted. I see apt in scripts all the time. I used to write them, and I don't even remember how I learned not to do that anymore, but I don't do it anymore. Not after reading that. So don't you do it either. All right, so let me actually set the title here. README. All right, so we're logged in. We can SU to back to RDXRob. And now we've got our login shell. I'm gonna be careful not to lose it. Yeah, I guess, yeah, that's right. All right, so here we go. We're using VI, and you know, you'll see this is the default configuration for VI. The stuff up here is my tmux, so that doesn't count. But everything else is the default VI. And just as a reminder, I want to show you what happens when you use an ed-like sort of thing, right? So if I were to do that, let's do it in the same one actually. Let's stay here. All right, so let's go out. You know, we already did VI and everything. So let's actually, instead of doing VI, let's do NVI. We talked about NVI. What is NVI? If you say NeoVim, I'll punch you. A sudo, and why do you care? This is a review of the VI stuff. We have to do it. I'm not in sudoers. App install -y NVI. Sudo, let's see, apt install ed. Can't believe ed is not on here by default. What a travesty. No, su. I gotta be careful because if I lose this image, I'm done because I did an RM on it. Su-rdxrob. BSI, yes it is. That's the best way to say it. It also is, and I quote, hell, of course there's no editor. Bug for bug compatible with the original BSD, with the original POSIX VI and BSD Unix VI. So, it is dangerous to provide a reverse shell. It can, but it doesn't always. Yeah. Yes. So, I think you might mean X instead of ed, but yeah. There are things you can do with that, I think, modern ed, but I'm not sure if ed by itself. It does allow you to shell out, for sure. You can run a shell command. Yeah. Yeah, and that's a good thing though. So, but yeah, containers don't have ed and vi on them anymore. Anyway, so just to recap for everybody who doesn't remember, so ed was the first editor ever created for humans. Actually, not the very first, but the first Unix editor ever made. It is the standard Unix editor, and you should learn it. And we did. We did in the boost. We spent 2 hours learning it. Why should you learn ed? Why should you learn ed? And, you know, right and wrong answers. Why should you learn it? I get this question all the time. I'm asking you. Action temperament, and it is the right tools. Yeah. The VI is based on ed. Okay, good one, because the VI commands are ed commands. Yes, they are. That's probably the best answer. You know, people use VI and or Vim or NeoVim, and they think that all the stuff beginning with a colon is actually VI. It's not. It's ed. I mean, ed did it first, and then, you know, knowing things like how to print a certain number of lines, how to comment all the lines between a certain section, how to do all those things. Those are all ed commands, and you need to learn them. You'll be a better VI, Vim, NeoVim user if you learn ed, and we did that, right? And ed, you know, got implemented as X, and the reason I'm talking about this is because this is a part of our configuration conversation. So if you want to configure NVI here, first of all, what can I even do here? So if I use NVI foo.md, I want you to see this because this is VI. This is VI and AIX and Solaris and everything that you'll ever encounter. BSD Unix, that is not Vim. This is VI. And so one of the good reasons to use NVI is to get 100% VI experience that's compatible with all of the systems I mentioned. Plus, it's almost exactly compatible with the VI you would use in BusyBox or Alpine, which are both very significant distributions if you're working with containers. And if you don't think you're ever going to need to open an editor on a container, a running container, you're sadly mistaken. You actually do need to do that to get operational information from config files. So you can do it with cat and other stuff. But it's just so much easier when you have VI because you have search capability and thing. And BusyBox comes with VI built in, which means Alpine has it as well because Alpine is BusyBox. If that's all Greek to you, go back and watch some of the other videos. But that's why, okay? Vim X mode, just FYI. Yes, but not reliably. Yes. And sometimes people did it on accident, so it's probably good you mentioned that, Mossy. In order to get back to visual mode, you have to do :VI, right? So VI stands for visual mode of X. And X is, you know, the newfangled version of ed that they made some time ago. Now, all of that is to say, I want my line numbers, right? So I'm going to do : set ln, right? Is it ln? Set all. So a bunch of these settings that we're setting right here, Control-C to quit VI, bite your tongue, or I will bite it for you. Okay, so there you go. X is expanded extremely difficult. Yes. Is a set, you can do set and you can do whatever one, but I want you to see these, okay? The reason that we're firing up NVI again, you're like, why are we using the reason that we're doing this, my friends, is because these are the most important configuration settings for you to know. And there's no way we're going to be able to go through them all today. The most important configuration settings for you to know in Vim, NeoVim, VI, and X, frankly, actually no, these are VI, are these things, okay? And why am I telling you this? Because I am preparing you to be useful on any Unix system, not just Linux. And if you get on a system that doesn't have Vim on it, that has NVI on it, how are you going to configure it? I have to talk to you about that, and then I'll talk to you about how to move over to Vim. And we're not going to talk about NeoVim and doing that in Lua. If you want to waste your time with that, that's fine. Do it on your own time. It's completely irrelevant. It'll make you irrelevant as an operations systems administrator to do that. If you want to be a software designer working on your own machine, fine. But we're not going to have that fight right now. So here are all the things you can look up. They all have short versions. And, you know, there's a bunch of stuff there. So there, right? So : set and u will get you your line numbers, you know, and are kind of ugly. Something else I want to notice is notice that here you don't even get a ruler for free. You don't even know if you're in insert mode for free. This is VI. You can't even see insert mode. It's not the defaults, you know, and Vim has more reasonable defaults, but it's still important that you know that these settings are so you can turn them on if you're doing editing you care, and where you would put them if you're on a Unix system, not necessarily Linux with Vim. All right, so that's where we're going to start, and then we'll build on that. All right, so what is another one? Set ruler. Is it ruler or no ruler? Okay, so there's ruler. So ruler tells me what line number I'm on and what my offset is. So that's down here, right? And I think the other one is mode. Set. Oh, thank you for the phone. Is it mode? Damn. Set all. I don't remember. It's no auto write, backup, no beautify, column equals 81, no comment, no error bells. Oh my gosh. No XRC. Why would you do that? Magic, lock, no list, Lisp, key time. We're gonna look at them all. Okay. Hard tabs. All of these things we're gonna look at to some degree from NVI, and then we'll do it in Vim. Tab stops and this is a big one. Tags, non-terse, not secure. I'm looking for, we got ruler on. I'm looking for the one that shows you your input mode. Is it MESG? I don't know if it is. I don't remember which one it is. Auto print, no indent line. Which one is it? Is it mode? Show mode. Show mode. There it is. Set show mode. Yeah, there we go. There it is. It's show mode. I tried to do mode. It's actually show mode. So down here you can see this is all the insert you get down here, which is different than the other one. Okay, there's no colors. I don't even think you can set it because this is basic VI. All right, and you can do all your add commands and everything. Okay, so let's say I want those three settings by default. Let's say I want those three settings to happen every time I open a file on here. What would I do? All right, and if you know Vim at all, you're like, oh, well, I'm just going to edit my vimrc file, right? And you'll go to your nvim file and you'll say, okay, set show mode. I think you have to do set show mode, right? And we'll do set show mode. We'll do set line numbers. You can write it all out if you want. LU, right? What is it? Line number? I can't remember. Number line? I can't remember. I can't remember. I have to go through it. Is it just number? It's not number, is it? Is it? It's NU, right? Okay, fine. All right, so set number and then set ruler, right? Yeah, but I don't like the short ones in my configuration file. If you want to use the short ones in your config file, fine. I suggest against it. I mean, there's nothing wrong with, because, I mean, that way you can like look it up, right? All right, so I put this in a vimrc. Awesome. Okay, now let's do my NVI. So NVI, not VI. We're going to do VI foo-md. What's going to happen? Pause for a second. Let's see what you say. What's going to happen? What's going to happen? I'm going to run this thing. What's going to happen? Where's all my settings? Anybody know why? We actually talked about it. Where are all my settings? It didn't see anything. Why? Go ahead and tell us. Because the official name, and this always drove me crazy when I first started back in 94 or 5, the official name for the configuration file is not vimrc. You're like, okay, I mean, let's do something a beginner would probably do, right? Well, if it's not vimrc, then maybe it's, I don't know, maybe it's nvirc. I don't know, let's try that. I mean, I don't know what's up. I didn't do a search. Hey, look, this one worked, sort of. I mean, it kind of worked, right? It kind of worked. Wait, what did I do? Did I use NVI? Oopsie, bad me. I was like, that's not it. Okay, here we go. So, no, I still didn't see it, right? Yeah. So, the point of all of this annoyance is that the official name for the VI configuration file, and I mean VI, is, what is VI again? Strictly speaking, what is VI? Strictly speaking, what is it? You can probably guess it. VI is not VI. VI is a mode of another editor. It's a type of state that another editor is in. And what is that editor's name? Not Ed. Close though. It's visual mode for X. So what I'm trying to tell you is there actually isn't a VI. I know, your whole reality has been broken. VI never was VI. VI, since the dawn of time, has always been the X editor. And VI is a way to open the X editor in visual mode. That just blow your mind? So if you want to get really pedantic with your friends, and you say, well, I use the VI editor, and they say there's no such thing. And they're like, what? Like, no, there's visual mode of the X editor. Is that what you're talking about? Because that's what it is. And so, in fact, if you look on some systems, I think this is one of them, you can actually, in some of the older systems, the X, it's a multi-call binary. The X command and the VI command are pointing to the same hard link. Not always, but there's the same file. It's called Vim is different. Vim is a totally different thing. So if you're talking about VI, you're talking about the visual mode of the X editor. And that means when you run VI, you're using a hard link, and so it's a multi-call binary, which means that when you run the program, it detects how it was run, and it does a certain thing, and it changes the setting for you, which is set visual, right? So actually watch, I'm gonna prove it. So if you type X, right? See that? It even warns you. You're entering X mode, right? And I can do all of my X commands and everything. But if what you really wanted, and I'm telling you this because you sometimes will get, somebody said, you can actually, I think it's Control G, it'll put you into X mode from VI, it'll shift your X mode to visual mode, and you'll be like lost, and you'll know what to do, right? But if you type VI or visual, it'll go into, oh wait, I did it wrong again. Gosh dang it. Which X? Yeah, it's just not that, this isn't the actual X, unfortunately. No, this isn't. It's not the same one you would have if you were on like an actual system. I'd have to, is there an NX? Oh, there is. Nice. That's the first time I've done that. Oh, this is very good. Great. Okay, so NX is, the equivalent of doing it on a system where, I'm telling you this because if you get on like an old AIX box or something like that, you're going to get stuck. And you're going to need to know this. And people, actually, I'm going to pick on Zorchenheimer again. Zorchenheimer, one of my favorite streamers of all time, inherited the work of some other old timers, his word, on some systems, on some AIX systems. And he was going off. I was laughing so hard. I mean, not at him. I was just laughing at this situation. And he was like, yeah, they're like, they don't even have Vim on here. They're like, all they have is this thing called V. He was calling it V. And I'm just sorry. It was just kind of cute, I couldn't help but laugh. And so anyway, and he got through it fine, and he figured it out. But he had no idea what he was doing because it didn't have any of the Vim stuff. And he was streaming about it. He was streaming about how annoying it was. And I was like, I need to clip this entire thing and show my Boost people, because this is what happens when you come into a substantial IT department of any kind, and which is backwards. Yes, I know. Isn't that crazy? So next, so there. Okay, so here you are. You're editing this random file. You're not really thinking, and then you want to switch to VI mode. So you can do VI, and it will change you to visual mode, right? And if you want to go back here, I think you can go back to X mode. No, I guess you can't. Was it Control G? Yeah, it doesn't work. Control G doesn't work in actual X. I had a feeling it was going to be an NVIM thing, or a Vim thing. So, okay, the point, I think I made my point that the configuration file has to be called, what do we have here? It has to be called XRC, right? So in order to get those minimal number of configurations that you can actually do with VI, it has to be called XRC. Now, are you going to ever use XRC in practice? Probably not. You're going to be using Linux. You're going to be using, a Mac that's got Vim on it, or any number of things. You're not going to know it. And I want you to just understand that if this situation comes up to you, you don't get caught off guard like Zorgenheimer did. Okay, so you can go ahead and do XRC, and you can see. Whoops, I did the wrong thing again. I did. So let's actually input it NVI. It's hard for me to remember. So here we go. So now we have all of our settings are there, right? And they're saved. Now, okay. So now we're moving on to Vim. But one of the reasons that I wanted to do it this way is because I believe personally the best way to do this is to separate out your customizations from VI from Vim without leaving them in a singular file. Old Manager said you long ago VI equals 6 devil's editor equals devil's editor. You'll definitely end up in hell with no escape. So Kater is saying use VI, use VI, use VI. That's funny. I'm sure he was a devil. He probably was a devil. Use devil. Get it? Evil. Yeah. People make jokes about it all the time. Stallman's always making, what is the center of evil? VI. People say it all the time. So it doesn't matter because that's the thing. You got to use it. So we have this XRC thing now. So what we're going to do is we're going to take that .xrc and now we're going to configure Vim. All right. And we know that the name is vimrc. It's a more reasonable name, but it's still in the dot files. Last week we talked about, .local and the configurations for Open Desktop, foundation for how to store configuration files in a way that doesn't mess you up. Suffice it to say, you still have to have a .vimrc. It's one of the few things you have to have. You can change it, I think, in an environment variable, but it's a bad idea. Just keep it in that location. So we're moving our XRC now, and now we're going to actually start using VI. So this is a completely, free desktop standards, yes. This is a completely, I'm using VI, but if you want to type Vim, so check it. If I type VI, VI is alias to Vim. Where did I do that? Now, it's just easier for me to type. Plus, it's also universal. So I don't type. People ask me all the time why I'm not using Vim, and I'm just using VI, and I show them that. That was in my bash alias, which I showed you last week. So you can go look at that. If I'm putting it in a script or something, I'm using Vim, obviously. But so when you see me type VI, whatever, that's what's actually happening. Okay. So .vimrc. Yeah. Thank you for being there. So then we do .vimrc. Is it a standard Ubuntu alias? I hope it is, because I also add it. But so here we see that we already get a number of other pleasantries. So we have color, which I love to pick on Ron Pike for, which he calls juvenile. Nobody needs color. I disagree significantly with that. The color can save you from lots of problems. And so here we have, these basic settings. So why did I start with all that X gibberish, right? So when we go through our configuration file, what I'm going to recommend to you is that you put, oh God, what is it, equal sign? I think it's equal sign, right? So and we have to do, okay, I'm going to stop you right here. I'm going to warn you. We are not learning Vim script syntax. Vim script is one of the biggest complaints about Vim, and rightly so. I mean, it is an amazing, powerful language that's very convoluted and weird to get your head around, and just know that you don't have to. I didn't learn Vim script until 2020 finally. So I'm going to tell you that we're going to be putting a lot of things in here, and you're going to learn basic if statements. And you're going to be able to recognize it. In fact, the reason that we finished bash scripting 2 weeks ago, and then we did bash configuration, is because you know what an if statement is now, you know what a function is, you know how to set variables, you know these basic concepts. So when you come into Vim syntax, you don't have to learn all of Vim script. If you want to learn it, you should get the book. The O'Reilly book is hands down the best resource for learning Vim script, short of Vim itself. Which has really extensive help inside of it. And by the way, you can type if you type colon like help anything, right, it'll give you like the most exhaustive look at everything you ever wanted to know about Vim, and you can hover over these things. I actually used this when I was doing some of my Vim script. There we go, write a Vim script, and I can't remember how to follow though. I don't remember which one it was. I can't remember which one it is. Is it W? How do you follow everybody? I don't remember it. Do you remember? Actually, it's at the top. It tells you. There it is. Duh. Okay, so use the cursor keys, enter, close the window, get out of Vim, jump to a subject. Is it? No, that's escape. Oh, hey, my server's here. I need to pause. My server just got here. I'll be right back. Looks like we're gonna have an unboxing later. Oh. Watch out, Teddy. All right, Teddy, watch over. All right, that's my server. Oh, okay, so my server's here. That means we're gonna be doing Proxmox. We're gonna be chopping up that server later today if you want to watch with Proxmox. I paid $2,300 for 128 gigabyte, 14 cores, ECC RAM. Yeah, I got it on purpose so that I can start doing Kubernetes stuff on Monday again. We're gonna be plugging it into my router over there. You sure that? Yep, that's the one that just came. So I'll be unboxing that. If you want to stay tuned for that, I'll be unboxing it, and we'll be setting Proxmox up on it. It can run Minecraft, yes. I can't do a kickflip, but all right. So we have to get back to VI. I know I want to get to it too, so let's stay focused. All right, ready? Unpause. Okay, so I'm sorry, I just got a server here. If you, I'm just gonna put a plug in. If you want to see me build, this is a 14 core, 128 gigabyte HP server that was on sale. It was a really good deal. And I'm going to be chopping that up into all kinds of Proxmox virtual machine cluster groups. Later today, this is Sunday, and I'll be building new Kubernetes clusters using Kube-ADM on Monday for work on it, and then installing Harbor and Tecton and getting that all working. I'm going to be doing that this week if you're interested. So I'll just put that out there. Okay, so, but you got to know VI to do that. So, hey, see, segue. Okay, so I've been recording all that stuff on YouTube. I'm trying to anyway. It's very long-winded stuff though, so I don't always do it all. It's definitely on Twitch though. I mean, because it's like 6 hours of video to upload if I'm just like going through and doing it. You know, I probably should. Maybe I should. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Maybe, I mean, the unboxing I'd probably record, but I'm kind of, it's a different, not suitable for work kind of person. Anyway, so we'll talk about that later. So position. So here's the help for Vim, just in case you forgot. I did. Anytime you're on something between bars, you can hit Control right bracket, which is not the same as Control left bracket, which is escape. So that's interesting. You know what? I don't think I knew that. Now that you've jumped with the double or a double, oh, you can double mouse click. Control T, Control 0, right mouse click to go back to your where. Right mouse click, really? Uh-oh. Modifiable is off. Control right mouse click. Control right mouse click. I don't know if it's working. I don't know. I don't do this very much, obviously. And on Windows. Yes. You can use Control T. I've never done that. In my whole entire life, I've never done that. Control O, maybe. There's another way to follow them that I use more than that. Okay. Oh, with the mouse set, mouse equals A. I don't want to do mouse stuff. Why isn't it following it? I did it. Oh, it's not okay, I got you. Okay. All right. And then it's Control O to go back. That's really weird. Other text are highlighted. There's another way to do this that I don't remember what it is. Control O is handy. I think. Yeah. Anyway, so Control. Yeah, there's another way to do it, and I just can't remember what it is. Maybe I'm wrong. All right, anyway, so to follow these things, you can go here and look at about everything. I mean, this is a full book. This is everything you ever want to know as long as you know how to get around in it, which I don't really know how to do. I'm always like trying to find the stuff that I need, and I do it that way. The Control O thing, I think I can get behind really bad. That's like kind of like a web history sort of thing. Anyway, so you can go down here and go down to your Vim script, and you can actually search this help using Vim script, using Vim 9 script. I'm using Vim 9 right now. That's right, I just installed it. I forgot about that. I didn't mean to. Wow, what does Vim 9 script look like? I mean, this is the point where we get to comment on whether I like Vim 9 or not. First of all, don't get used to using it because you are never, ever going to have Vim 9 on anything but your own computer because nobody's going to update just for that. I mean, very few people would. Vim script has been growing over the years. Main goal of Vim script is dramatic performance. This sounds like it's good, though. The problem is that you won't know if you have Vim 9. And so you never, ever, ever, you want to write, look, I had to ask for them to put Vim 8 on our jump boxes because they had 7.1, which was released in 2013 or something. That's how old it was. So you still might want to put conditionals in your configuration file that check to see what version of Vim you have and then use things that you can use. And so I'm kind of prefacing going through my Vim script that's got a lot of that in it with that. And also tying that into the knowledge you already have about Bash, right? Because you learned about if statements and conditionals and logic and that sort of thing minimally when you went through Bash. Not enough to become a really great programmer yet, but enough to know what's going on when you see any kind of script. And that's really important. You really need to be able to be good no matter how what kind of script you're looking at. This is interesting because this is a shell script here. I kind of want to read this really quickly here. Differences from legacy Vim script. Let's just read this really quick since it is relevant. This is Vim 9 only came out like a month or two ago. Brief summary of the differences you will most often encounter when using Vim 9 script. Details below. Comments start with #, not quote. Interesting. Wow, using a back, that's a big deal because I just had that problem just today actually. Using a backslash for line continuation is hardly ever needed. Oh, you don't need to do it anymore. White space is required in many places to improve readability. Assigning values without let declaration with var. Oh, thank God for that. That was so annoying. We'll get into it. Constants can be declared with final and constant. Wow. That's cool. Final cannot be used as an abbreviation of finally. Variables and functions are script local by default. Very interesting. Functions are declared with argument. That's really important because when you're doing multiple files from different plugins, they can step on each other pretty badly in Vim script. This is a big deal. Functions are declared with argument types and return. Call me. Wait, what? You can set argument types and return types now? That's straight from TypeScript. Wow. Call functions without call. Yeah. Oh, you can just write them. Interesting. That's nice. You cannot use old X commands. Damn. Oh, these specific ones. Yeah, these specific ones can't be used, but the other ones probably can. You cannot use curly braces names. The range before a command must be prefixed by a colon. Oh, that's interesting. I don't think that was the case before. Executing a register with @r does not work. I don't like registers anyway. I mean, in VimScript it makes sense to have registers, but comment starting with. Okay, so it's telling you all of that. Okay, that's all. All right, we can go back. We don't need to dwell on this. So colon Q exclamation point will get us out of that, and then we're back here, and so they just told us we can actually do this. I wonder if it'll recognize it. This is a comment. Now, why am I not going to do that? Because I know for a fact that that's not going to be supported on Vim 8. You know, Vim version, what am I on? 8.2. Well, I don't understand why all the information was about Vim 9 then. Oh, it must be VimScript 9. Version Vim 8 must support VimScript 9. I'm getting it now. Finally, comments in VMRC. You've been able to put comments all along in there, just not using a hashtag. I have all kinds of comments in my VMRC. So yeah, so this is a comment. And you can see it doesn't mess with anything, right? Let's try it this way now. Oops. Uh-oh. That is really weird. Why is my Vim script different on here? I'm confused. Oh, this says for Vim version 8. Oh, you know what it is? Yeah. I think I have version 9 on here. Maybe not. What the hell? I'm version 8.2. Huh. How come I was getting the 9 stuff? Yeah, this is the reason you're not going to do it. Don't use any Vim 9-isms. I'm telling you, don't do it. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. It's not going to be worth it for a couple years when people actually have upgraded that on a system. The whole reason for learning VI is so that you're useful on a system really quickly. And the whole reason for making a single vimrc file is so that you can just copy that file over to something else. But I'm in the container now. That's what I don't understand. I'm in the container now. That's what I don't understand. I did something weird. I don't know what I did. I mean, here's the help, right? Maybe they're getting us ready for it. They are. Look at that. Using Vim 9 script. So Vim 9 script is not supported in the help docs. You know what it is? You know what it is? The help docs are in a separate package, I think, than the Vim 8 stuff. Because this is showing you Vim 9 script, but there is no Vim 9 script support in this particular version. So maybe they were getting us ready for it something, but it's not supported. So we're only doing 8.2. And why? Again, the reason we're doing 8.2 is because it'll work anywhere. I mean, I wouldn't even do 8.2. I would do 8 or even 7, and then I would have conditional support in your configuration file for 8.1 or 2. Right? You're not going to be adding a lot of stuff to there anyway. Because, I mean, to tell you the truth, honestly, there's most of the stuff that's here is the defaults are going to be fine. I mean, the defaults are going to be fine, right? And I don't particularly even like line numbers. I think they're redundant to what I can see down here. I've trained my eye to look down here at the number rather than here because I need to look at how many characters over sometimes anyway. And I don't like throwing away like an entire gutter of space on my terminal. That's just me. A lot of people hate that. They have to have those line numbers. Set no new, and they'll go away. So anyway, the short list of VI setting keywords, :set, and that'll give you all of them. And it'll give you the options that you have. Set, is it all? Set all. Set all will show you all of them. Yeah, and so this, as you can see, there are a lot more options for Vim. Vim has way more options than VI. So, but if you do NVI, you'll see the ones that are there. So again, the reason we did that, NVI foo.txt, whatever, and then we do set all on this, is that we can isolate all of the things that are a part of, the ones. If you're going to set any of these, you can go ahead and set them at the top of your script, and then you can rename your script or just copy and paste that part out if you're on a system that has just VI and not Vim, right? They're the kind of core settings at the top. So that's what we're doing, Vim RC, and that's why you want to put a line here. You could say, whatever. You could say, begin Vim settings, and up here could just be, like the core ones, and you can separate them out, okay? All right, so that's, if we keep talking about this at this pace, we're not going to make it through all of the settings that I have. And I said this before, when it comes to Bash RC, there is no shame in taking somebody else's file and using that file in your way. And if you use the Boost VM, which I'm going to shout out right now, you should know how to do this. We already went through it a couple weeks back. So github.com/rwxrob/boostvm. You'll see the link there to downloading the stuff there. And if you just want my Vim settings, those are in my dot files, which you just do Vim and it should link to it. You go to VI Survive or to my dot files. My dot files have my Vim settings in there, and you can go through them. So that is a warning, because we're now going to proceed extremely quickly through my Vim settings, and I'm going to remind myself why they're there that way. And this is an opportunity for you to ask questions. Why do you not do it this way? Why do you think about this? And you can hit me with every question you want. And if you don't think of a question during the boost right now, you can actually ask me a question any day between 6:30 and 7 during our QCA time. So let's do that. And for the record here, we'll have. Did I tweet something? I didn't do that. Did I just close it? Yeah, I didn't, but that's fine. Okay, so let's go through my settings. Okay, Vim RC, and this includes plugins. We're going to talk about plugins. I know people have been asking me a lot about that. When we get to it, we'll talk about it. Okay, so here is my thing that I made, and again, we're just going to talk about it. There's really nothing to do besides just tell you what it's doing, and then you're going to gradually learn to add your own things and get creative and stuff like that. Okay, so I put in here that this is designed for Vim 8 Plus on purpose, and this is something interesting. I made sure I said if has eval let skip defaults Vim equals 1 and diff. So this is a kind of a cool little trick that I learned from some other Vim people to make sure that you have the full version of Vim. So containers and Ubuntu, I think by default, and Raspberry Pi, they will only install Vim Tiny, which is a very, very small version of it. I don't believe it's the BusyBox version, but it's a very much a smaller version of Vim. And so this is kind of a filter. Anytime you want to make sure you have an actual Vim, you want to have that. But this allows my configuration file to work even if there's, not a full version of Vim. It's Vim, but not a full version of Vim. And that actually kind of reared its head when I was working on, I think, Ubuntu server. One of them doesn't have the actual Vim. Most of this stuff has Vim Tiny on it by default, but in order to get Vim, you have Vim. And then I have set no compatible. So what is no compatible? So let's do this. Help no compatible. I'm going to look them all up. No compatible is a Boolean. This option has the effect of making Vim editor more VI-like or make Vim behave in a more useful way. There's a special kind of option because when it's set or reset, other options are also changed as a side effect. By default, this option is on, and the VI defaults are used for the options. This default was chosen for those people who want to use Vim just like VI and don't even want to know about compatible, the compatible option. So I'm very sad to announce to tell you that VI compatible mode doesn't work at all. It's the only way to know that you're actually getting a VI thing is to use NVI or something like that. If you're going to use Vim, you've already decided that I don't care about VI anymore. I am going to use Vim. And so set no compatible and you'll be happy. If you are a diehard VI user and you leave compatible on, you will inevitably be burned by something. I can't remember anything specifically, but I remember being burned by doing something that was not VI, and Vim let me do it even though compatibility mode was on. So I think compatibility mode is broken. I think you should just put no compatible on and own it. Then of course here I have like all the XRC stuff I was just telling you about. You understand that line now because we just talked about it, and we can go on. So automatically indent new lines. So this is like when you make a new line, you know, it'll auto indent. And so I think it's probably important that we mention here that a lot of these things are overridden by the type of file you're editing. So people ask me all the time, how are you editing your ZET and your README file? You know, blah, 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 blah. So like if I have like, so something here, right? I hit enter. Oh my gosh. And then I go here and I did like here. And then I go over here and it does this. That's because it's auto indenting. Now, sometimes it's really, really, really annoying. Like when you're cutting and pasting. So watch this. Let's say that I want to just cut and paste a bunch of code, right? Or I want to string wrap. I want to copy this like this. And I want to, you know, control C it. If you're cutting and pasting from your mouse, auto indent is the devil. It is horrible. You know, because you like, whoops. I don't know if I gotta find a good example of it. But anybody who's done anything with code will know this. So a lot of times you want to turn auto indent off because if you don't want it to auto indent, you just want it to do its thing, right? And you'll find yourself a lot of times, sometimes people put this on a key, but they'll do set list. They'll do set list, or they'll do, set no list if you want to see your stuff. We talked about that. But if you want to paste something and be sure, let me actually edit some Go code. Let me give you a shift and mouse select, set paste. Yeah, sorry, not list. Right. So if let me show you an example of this. So Go, let me find a Go project. So if I go to my Z project, and I'm in my main Go, right? And let's say, I'm out on the web or something, and I want to copy and paste this code. Now, obviously, I would not be copying and pasting the code with my mouse here, but let's pretend like I grabbed the code from my mouse, right? Now, it depends. Not everything screws up by this, but anybody who's been burned by this already knows about it, right? I don't even have to tell you. You know exactly what I'm talking about, right? Because you'll go down here and you'll be like insert, and then you'll like right click to paste, and of course it works this time. But a lot of times it won't, right? A lot of times it'll be this. It'll be like all auto indented, and it'll be all screwed up. Hey, how's it going? And so in those cases, and there are many, you'll need to do colon set paste. Some people have that on a F key, and then when you paste, it turns auto indenting and line numbering and auto wrapping and all that stuff off. And so you should know about that already if you haven't heard about it already. But I just wanted to mention that it's the worst, right? It's really annoying because you can't get it. And by the way, that's one of the reasons I don't like Python. Can you imagine copying and pasting Python code knowing that? I mean, if a lot of times I'll leave paste off. A lot of times I'll leave paste off if I'm in Go, because all I have to do is save it, and my auto formatter will fix everything because it knows what to do. You can't do that with Python. You can't do that with Python. Excel to paste? That'd be cool. Yeah. Use spaces in Python and not tabs. That's why you use spaces and not tabs in Python? Yeah. So format will fix it for me. Yeah. Most of the time, magic formatting will work, but most of the languages that have magic formatting, they depend on braces. One of the biggest annoyances I've had with any tab space or white space delimited thing, whether it be Jade or Stylus or Python or Q or anything, is that when you go to paste like this, or you go anywhere on the web or something, and you go to paste and you can't get the indentation right, because even if you do set paste correctly, you have to unindent it all properly, and it's a pain. It's a real pain. But if you use a language that has, delimiters for the blocks, it can easily figure everything out no matter what, and it just reformats your code, and your formatter is super happy. I've noticed like unusually large amount of grief when dealing with white space indented languages, which were all the rage back in the CoffeeScript days. Everybody was making everything white space indented, and then they all kind of came to their senses like, oh my God, why are we doing that? So I just wanted to let you know about that. So anyway, okay, so here we have automatically indenting new lines. Welcome, Raiders, by the way. I'm sorry, I've just been kind of going off here. It's always good to see Het come on in and go check Het out. Het is like enterprise guy. Hey, Het, look, I got my server right here, and I got Proxmox to work. So we're going to do that later. Het is an enterprise guru all the way. Thank you very much. All right, so we're going through, why to have an XRC versus a vimRC. And here we go, automatically write files. Hey, DevOptics. When you're changing multiple files, when multiple files are open. So auto writes. Deactivate line numbers. I don't like line numbers. If you want line numbers, you can put them. By the way, while we're going through this, I strongly suggest that you put your own comment in your own words, unless you agree with the words that I or somebody else use in here, because you will not remember. You're not going to change your stuff very frequently. And so you're going to want to come in there and you're going to want to fix stuff. So turn the column and row positionings on in the bottom right. So that's ruler. That's this thing down here. Now I have a highly customized ruler, which I spent a long time crafting, and I will talk to you about it when we get down below. I specifically picked these muted colors. I'm a big fan of muted colors instead of in your face kind of colors. So we'll go from there. So show command modes and insert mode. Show mode, that is the insert. This is this thing right here as on when you turn that on, and tab stop. So tab stop equals 2. I believe, let's read it. Help tab stop. So tab stop is the number of spaces that a tab in a file counts for. Yes, and also see retab command and set tab soft spot. Tab stops are so annoying because you have soft tab stops, you have expand tabs, and then you have this one. And I always have to look them up because there's so many different ways. See, as it says here, and that kind of talks about it. So there are 4 ways to use tabs in Vim. Always keep tab stop at 8, set tab stop and shift width to 4 or 3 or whatever, or use no expand tab, then Vim, number of spaces. Set tab stop and shift width to whatever you prefer to use, expand tab. This way it will be better insert spaces. Set tab stop and shift width to whatever you prefer and use the mode line. Always set tab stop and shift width to the same values. That's what I do. Just use spaces instead of tabs. That doesn't always work. You just expand tabs. I use spaces for everything, yeah. And then, Go fixes it. Go fixes all because Go has to have tabs, right? It's part of the language. It doesn't allow initial spaces for compilation speed. Yeah, I follow an age-old practice here. It might be out of date, but I set the tab stops the same as my soft tab and my shift width. I have them all the same. So shift width is what happens when you do this. See, like 2 greater than, 2 greater than. So that's the thing. I have them always be the same, and my default's 2. But this gets overridden all the time, depending on the language. So if I open a bash script, usually most of the syntax rules in any of those will override what I like. But I operate on a terminal at, with a rather large font. So I spend most of my time, particularly streaming, with pretty, with two space indent, with no indent, no line numbers, and two, because I think it's easier for you to be able to read the stream on your phone and stuff. So my considerations might not be the same as yours. Set map leader. I don't remember that. What is that? I don't remember that one. Map leader. To define mapping, uses map leader. Special string leader can be used. It replaces with the string value of map leader. Is not set. A backslash is used instead. I've been using backslash for everything forever. I think I added that recently. I've been using backslash for my map leader. Yeah, it's like when you want to do like complex things. I'm trying to think of something that I do that with. I can't. My fingers have some things memorized, but I can't think of anything right now. Is there a Vim RC line for that? For what? The tab conversion, yes, there is. Yeah, and we're going to come to it. So most used. Okay, so shift width, as I said, this goes in and out. If you use visual mode at all, which I don't, that's one of the ways to do that. I actually don't do a lot of shifting using that. I have a thing called CMT, which I can just type however many spaces I want, and it just indents the whole thing. And I try to keep, for a long time, I tried to keep my muscle memory compatible with VI and not Vim. And then I tested myself with NVI, and I found out I had a lot of corruption, that I was using a lot of Vimisms that I didn't even know when it crept in. Most notably like stuff with G, capital G, but we'll get there. So first of all, I don't use visual mode. I think it's the devil. And if you want to use it, it's fine, but I don't use it. I use Vim filter scripts for that kind of thing. So that's my personal approach. Auto indent is a thing. I do auto indent, but I don't do shift over kind of things. All right, so what else we got? Smart indent, smart tab. Smart tab, what do they have to say? A smart tab, when tapping tab in front of blank, inserts lines according to shift with tab stopper. Yeah, okay. It uses in other places. A BS will delete a shift with portion of the backspace. I don't use this, so I don't know why it's on. I think it might be getting turned off by the syntax of everything I care about, but I'll leave it. Okay, so here's our first example of an if statement, and we're only 11% through this file, so we got to hurry. I don't know if we're going to be able to get to tmux or everything today. I hope. So v version, this is a way of establishing the scope on a variable, and greater than or equal to, it's if and end if, and then they have else if. So if it's 800. So this is checking to see if I have version 8 or not. Stop Vim from silently messing with files that it shouldn't. No fix end of line. I hate this, right? So one of the things that Vim will do is it'll try to clean up your line endings. Windows machines and Linux machines and Macs all used to have different line endings. This is much less of an issue in 2022 than it ever was before, but I don't like it messing with it. GitHub and Git also mess with your line endings as well. But I don't ever edit a file that's not in Linux VI, kind of terminal. I just don't. I just would rather not have to deal with it. If you are in the habit of opening things up with Notebook or something like that, you might end up with problems with line endings and stuff. So, but if you're not, then you're okay. List characters. Okay, this is actually one of the coolest things. I'm going to spend a bit of time on this. I really, really love this, and I wish that they let it have more. So if you turn this off, let me show you what happens if you turn this off. So I'm going to comment this out, and this is what you get. I didn't set this up until like a couple of years ago when I started streaming, and it's one of the best things I've ever turned on. So why do you care, right? Well, if you're in Python, you already know that you can't mix spaces and tabs in your indentation. It won't even open up or run. right? So there's a lot of times when you want to see what the actual characters are in the file, what they really are. Like, do I have an extra line return at the end? Do I, and you can make ways to warn you that you have extra line returns, which in the old days would destroy a traditional Unix config. If it had an extra white space at the end, it wouldn't even read that configuration line. It would silently ignore it. And you'd end up having an open system for security vulnerability, whatever. You know, and so it's actually really important that you're able to see everything in the thing. Preference of 4 to 2. Most YAML's 4 these days. Yeah, YAML's 4 these days. And I'll talk about that in a bit. Okay, so set list. So so there you go. So there's you'll see that by default when I did set list, all it's showing me is my line numbers. And by the way, if you ever see control M's at the end of your line, that's because you're dealing with a file that's not a Unix compatible file. But sometimes you want to see this, you know, they had an extra space here, right? Now I've actually got another rule on. I have an extra rule on that will automatically color any trailing spaces so I see them immediately and get rid of them. All right. The only other way to see that is with set tab. In the old days, in the 90s, I would get screwed up and then I'd have to go into the file and do set list to find the stuff that was wrong, right? But it's pretty lame, right? I mean, you can't even see. I mean, if I had a tab, which is kind of hard to do, but let's try it because I have tab exam on. Set no TE, I think, right? What is it? Set no tab. Set no, what is it? Extend tab, right? No ET, yeah, that's it. All right, so now when I put a tab here, see, okay, there you go. So there's your tab. See that? So, like, without that, though, without that, set list, wait, set no list. Without that, though, you can't tell that that's a tab. Like, so if you're doing Python, you're like, I can't see whether it's a tab or not. So set list, you turn that on and you get this. You're like, oh, okay, I got tabs there, right? And for years, I got used to seeing Control I as a tab. Well, you know, relatively recently, you know, I got no tab. See, I don't have tab expansion on, so let's cover that. If I do set expand tab, ET, it will actually, when I type a tab, it will use my soft indent, you know, spaces and to use the proper number of spaces. But I still can't see how many spaces, right? I can't count them. I'd have to like do this, right? So this really awesome setting that I'm spending an unusually large amount of time on lets you actually set the characters. And by the way, it doesn't use emojis. I tried it. It doesn't. I tried really hard to get emojis to work. They don't work. Okay. So it would be so cool if you could use emojis. So maybe you can't do it. Maybe someone else knows how to do it. I couldn't. So I put a star or an asterisk as a space or a trail, an NSP, non-breaking space. You know, extends, precedes. These characters are when it goes off the screen. So like right now, like if it goes off the screen and there's still something there and it's not wrapping, which mine always wraps right now, but if it were to do that, those would be the characters you see. But the real cool one that I did here is I figured I started using this kind of like bar and then greater than sign to show the tabs. So then when I open it up, if I do set list, I see where all the spaces are. See all the spaces? You can see them. And then if I go set this back to no tab, right? If I said, okay, so let's do set no ET, and now I do a tab, and you can see the tab there, right? And I can have like lots of tabs. I like it because it's 2 spaces, and I use 2 space indent already. And so I can see, oh, I got tabs in there, right? And I can count them a little bit easier than the eyes. I don't like the eyes. So it's just a way to customize it. I thought that's kind of cool. Set ET back again. And we'll go to that. Okay. And then set no list. And that'll turn off all that craziness. All right. Next. Make files and recover. Oh, gosh, yes. And EOM. Like when if you're doing bash scripts and you're using the dash in front of your here variables, which we didn't cover really well, but initial tabs are very valid in bash scripts and POSIX scripts. You see them all the time because people will use here variables with indentation, and the indentation will get stripped, but only if it's tabs. So you'll see initial tabs in bash scripts and shell scripts all the time. in the old stuff especially. So you need to be able to turn that on if you want to. So okay, I personally hate automatic folding. So folding, just so you know, folding is a thing that will take like an entire function in Go or something or Bash, and it'll make it all into one line. And then in order to see the stuff in there, you have to go to that line and hit enter in order to expand it. I hate that. It doesn't match my style of editing. When I edit stuff, I'm flying around using searches, and I want the screen to be fully visible all the time. I find it extremely inefficient to use any kind of folding, and I disable it on purpose. And Pandoc is by default, it has all this folding on, and I hate it. I absolutely hate it. So I turn it off all the time. Somebody might like that. Mark trailing spaces as errors. So this is a little secret thing. You might want to take that for yourself. It has a little regular expression. It says, take any trailing white space character, one or more of them, up to the final element of the line. And if it sees that, run the function inc search. No. Is it inc search? Match trailing white space error. Inc search. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, there it is. Okay, so I gotta jump ahead here. So there's a lot of things you can do to mess with your syntax and your highlighting, and I have done a number of these things. This is one of them. So what this says is anytime this matches, call that thing an inc search, and then you can do things to that thing, and you can actually highlight. Well, I'll show you a thing later, but I think I can't remember my setting. I think it's F2. Yeah, there it is. See, mine is set to F2, but I can be over a specific thing, and I can hit F2, and it will tell me all of the, tags or names or what roles or whatever you want of this specific thing that I'm hovering over. So then you can like really tweak your own conditional highlighting, right? So when I come down here, I can do this, and I push F2. I do this all the time, and it says, okay, that's a command. I do F2 down here, and it says, oh, it's a command, and it's this. And then I can like match up my syntax highlights. It's a really useful thing. We're going to get to how you can add that to your own vimRC if you want to help you with your own syntax tweaking. This becomes really important when you start to get into a particular color terminal variation, and usually the defaults will have something you don't like. The comments are too blatant or whatever, and you want to change color. So I'm tweaking syntax colors all the time. Yeah, everyone else, okay. Enough for line numbers. Okay, so here's my text width of 72. I have really strong opinions on this. Torvald said it's time for us to allow wider wrapping up to 100 or so. The problem is that nobody's ever consistent on this, and it really annoys me because, especially in Markdown, because I used to be the guy who's like, no, just make your paragraph infinitely long and let your editor do the wrapping. And then I started to realize this is kind of a problem. If you're going to write an RFC for the IATF or anybody like that, their hard maximum width is 72. And this is largely based on old terminals. I use this old standard because I stream. And as I've said before, I limit myself deliberately to 72 so that the code on my streams looks good every time, because I don't have to deal with other stuff, and I like this larger font size. So I've kind of bought in on the idea of having it be 72. So this text width number though is really important. That's what's going to decide when you wrap and whether you have a gutter or something. 72 is the magic number. A lot of people say 80 is the magic number. So the old terminals were always 80 by 20, 24, 80 by 20, 80 by 24. But you have to consider that, if you're doing line numbers, you're going to have upwards of like 4 or 5 characters are going to be gobbled up on the front. And you also potentially have, the at last character itself. So I use 72, and it works very well for me. But people don't do that, right? They put it at 80 all the time. So people you can tell when they're doing their editing that they're setting their line wrap to 80 because they're not considering any of these other things. And it's really, really annoying because it's not It's off by 2 or 3 every single time, and it's because they didn't do it to 72 or 73. You can actually warn yourself, and I think Swagger uses this, um, but I'm not really a fan of the color column. But if you want to see whether you're going off of it or not, you can do this, and you can color that column as red. So then you know if you're approaching, your end of your line or whatever, even if it's not strictly speaking, the like very end, right? So it's like that you're getting to it or whatever. I should probably not save that. I mean, I don't remember. Okay, so there we go. So we got the color column. If you want to do that, you can. You can do color row as well, which is kind of weird. But yeah, you can do weird things. You don't have to do that. If you're just learning, that's something you can do. You can make it conditional based on the file type, stuff like that. There is a way to reload the Vim file, and I don't remember how to do that. I'm just going to open up again. Relative numbers trip me up. I don't like relative numbers. I turn relative numbers off. Expand tab, we talked about that. Expand tab is the thing that turns the tabs into spaces. And it uses, I don't know the rules for it, so let's read it. I'm pretty sure it uses your text width, I think. So, let's see. Use the appropriate number of spaces. Ways to insert a tab. This is interesting. I don't think I knew about that. I'm going to have to change this. You can turn this on, and then you can have an XRC and a VimRC, and it will read both. Oh, it's optional because of security leak. Oh, okay. Well, maybe not. In white trailing white space. Yeah, and that's the kind of thing you can set up, right? I don't use Vim plugins. We're going to come to them, but I don't use Vim plugins for pretty much anything except for syntax. Because of all the reasons we talked about with Unix, filters. Expand tab. I'm trying to figure out what value it sets. Use the appropriate number of spaces to insert a tab. Spaces and indents when the crowds are on to insert a real tab. Control V tab. I didn't know you could do that. I learned something. I did not know you could do that. You can actually do Control V visual mode. I would never do it. That would also remove double spaces when you're new for it. Yeah. I think double line anyway. No line numbers. So relative line numbers. What are they? I actually have an F that does it. I can't remember where it is. Maybe not. I have one that turns ruler off. Set cursor line. Oh, I have cursor line on too. So, yeah, I can't remember. I don't use my F keys very much. Anyway, relative line numbers. I hate it. Okay, so people love it and hate it, and they change all the time. So, what is it? Rel num, right? What is it? So this is the thing. The idea with relative line numbers is that you're going to be doing a lot of X and ed and visual commands that are, a certain number of off from where you're at. And I discard that entire approach because I find it way too problematic. It's too hard to remember. It's much more cognitive overhead. To me, what works better is to know the line number, but even more than the line number, to know the keyword match. I am all about search centricity. So I mean, people are different, right? So, oops. So I'm all about search centricity. So if I wanted to yank, right? Yeah, you have to do math, and it's just too much overhead. If I want to say from here to here, my mind is already focused on the keyword. I'm already looking at the keyword because I'm getting ready to do something with the keyword. Like no foldable. Let's say I want to delete all of this up to match in search, right? So let's say I just want to delete it all from there, right? Now there's lots of ways to do it, but I could do D, and then I could do like an upward search, which is a question mark, and then I could do ink search. I don't even have to see how it matches it, and enter. Do you see how that just did that? So to me, that is far less cognitive overhead. It's more precise. It tells me right where my cursor is going to go. I don't know if, let me see if I can do that again for you. That was an up one, so I used the question mark to go up to the deletion. But let's say I want to delete from here. I mean, sometimes I'm lazy and I'll go all the way down and I'll see the line number. Okay, that's 68. I want to delete to 68. I'll D68 go. Right? I don't have to do the offset. That's the laziest you're going to see me. Most of the time, I'm going to say I want to delete everything up to makes. Right? So then I'll do something like I could do D/makes. And you see how it highlights immediately? And you see how it highlights immediately where it's going to go to? Then I do enter, and it does. It deletes all the way up to makes, right? Or I can do this. I can say I want to delete / double quote makes, and I don't have to do any math at all. I don't have to do any math. I just have to, and it already shows me on the screen where it's going to go. So I'm explaining myself when I say I don't use any line. I almost never use line numbers. I don't even use them for positioning. Unless I have an error that's given to me on an exact line number, then I'm like going straight to that line number through a command. That I don't use line numbers. I use keywords and I search just the way I do in Google or from the command line or anything else. And then I have one cognitive state of mind. Search. I'm constantly searching for things. So same thing when I'm on a line. So if I'm on a line right here and I want to search, like I want to delete up to the word within, right? So I do D, it's a W there, so TW, right? I'm looking at what is the marker that I'm searching for. I could have done the same way. I could have gone D/WITH, and it'll delete all the way up to that. So if you use this search centristic kind of way of navigating, you won't have to deal with numbers. You're going to get the highlighting automatically. That's going to show you where it's going to go to, and it's just going to be easier overall. Yeah, and the number keys are weird, and if you're dealing with files that are like really, really big, moving the cam chat up about an inch so we can see the bottom right corner of your Vim where it shows the current command. Oh, is it not showing it? I think you're seeing everything, my friends. Yeah. Are you? Is there something else that I'm not doing? Let me try. / disable. I think you're seeing everything. I can't touch the numbers. You're right. I don't type numbers all the time. So it's true. I have small hands and I don't like the numbers. You're not wrong. You're absolutely not wrong. You can see the left, not the right. You actually can see all the way to the right. I think you can. Yeah, because the farthest side. Okay, so here's what it looks like. Just to let you know. So yeah. See, that is the end of it. See, it's not being cut off because there's a tmux window there, right? So you see what I'm saying? So let me know though if that does get obscured. I don't want it to be, obviously. All right, so all those change. I'm too scared to go through that. So let's go back. Yeah, I don't show I may not have even be showing the current command. That might not even be in my information because I don't care. Yeah, that would be a good thing for me to turn on for you though. Yeah, I used to have I would show every single keystroke, but I turned that off. It was too annoying. All right, so I'll go through the pointers. We're going to go through this. This is the mode we are on, normal audio visual, so we cannot wreak havoc on files. We're not going to go through that yet, but that's a great thing to add. Well, remind me if we don't get through it. Yeah, okay, so my VimRC is designed to be small and compatible with as many things as possible. So I don't have that. Let's see, makes tilde effectively invisible. So like if you don't like the tilde showing blank lines, you can turn that highlight on. Spell checking. I have spell checking turned off by default on almost everything. This is something I don't want on my code, right? Almost every code editor will let you turn that on. I leave it on Pandoc. Disable. And by the way, I usually do this for the defaults, even if they're already set, just to remind me. No more riskier, but cleaner. No backup, no swap file, and no write backup. So if you don't know about this, backups can be huge depending on the file size and stuff. Also, the stupid swap file with the little tilde at the end, those things get committed to your Git repos and everything. Make sure those are off. Those are horrible. And the write backup one, I don't remember. Let's go look at it. Write backup, make a backup before overwriting a file. The backup is removed after the file is written. No, same thing. I don't do that. I don't do any backups because backups and swap files are a pain in the butt to clean up later. You should know what you're doing. You should be taking a backup of the file. You shouldn't be depending on the swap from Vim to do this, especially because if you're using VI, you don't get all those swap backups and stuff all the time. Actually, no, I think you do. I think VI does have swap backup built in by default. I don't like it though. Set icon, I don't even know what that is. I don't. I'm going to go look it up. When icon is on, the window will be set to the value of icon string or to the name of the file currently being edited. This affects, I think this affects what the tmux window titles are by default on an X11. I don't use X11, so not over here anyway. I'm using terminal tmux, so I don't know why that's on it. I'll just leave it there. Center the cursor always on the screen. This used to work. This does not work anymore. I don't know why, if I broke it with my tmux or something. Okay, let me show you what this does. So I remember now. I remember what it does. This, okay, so see, as soon as I start your watch, see how I have to go all the way to the top of the screen for it to start doing its thing, right? With that, it'll start, the cursor will always be in the middle. Watch. I remember this got kind of weird though. See this? That's weird, huh? I don't know if I like it. It like always keeps you with stuff at the top and the bottom. But the problem is that now I want to go up here and do a copy and paste and I can't see off the screen. So I turned it off, but I guess that's, you can have that on if you want. I mean, I would rather be able to go all the way to the bottom and see the whole thing and then delete all the way to the top line, you know? And by the way, I spam arrow keys, at JK all the time because my system can take it with key repeat. But, you know, if you're on an old VT100, 800 baud terminal, you can't do that. You got to do navigation commands. But I spam this all the time because I have a really fast terminal. In fact, the Windows preview, the new Windows Terminal preview radically improved the screen refresh speed. And somebody mentioned that in the chat. Who mentioned that? I can't remember. I was going to give him credit. Somebody mentioned that in the chat they watched me doing Sunrise and the terminal was way too slow, and I put it on. I put the new terminal preview on, not the default. It has to be terminal preview from Microsoft, and it really, really radically improved the speed. It's crazy how much faster it is. Okay, short message. Avoid most of the hit enter messages. So I am not going to tell you what all of these things mean. I have to look them up every stinking time. I think it's annoying as heck. But, you know, it's a thing. And so here's, you know, the things you can do are read-only instead of read-only. You can change all your messages and stuff. You can, I mean, this is the kind of thing you're going to spend lots of hours and, you know, maybe get a drink and put some music on and just screw around with your VI files. I specifically altered mine because if you're not careful, you'll continue to get hit enter because everything will go on the screen and it will stop you. And it's really annoying. So that's what that's trying to do. All right, so probably the most important setting that we're going to cover in this entire file is right in here. So you missed the set HL search. What's HL search? I don't know. Let's talk about that one. Let's go see what that one is. Help. HL search. Let's see. When there is a previous search pattern, highlight all its matches. The type of filing used can be set with the L location. Did I skip it? Did I skip it? Because I have that set. What? My scroll offset to 8, so it will go up and down until 8 lines remain. Yeah, a lot of people do that. I don't like it. I had it on for a while. This will force it to be in the center. We skipped this section completely. Sorry. Okay, so HL search. This shows you what you've been searching for. This is so important that you have this. These are so important because otherwise, why do you want to? Now, I changed the color of my search highlighting because it was like way too bright and annoying before. And by the way, if you want to drop them, you can just do Control L. Yeah. What does Control L do in Vim, by the way, everybody? What does Control L do? Control L refreshes the screen. So I have my Control L set to not only refresh the screen, but to zero out my highlighted search. Because sometimes I don't want to leave it on. And like after I've been searching, I don't want it to be bothering me the whole time. So then I Control L, it refreshes my screen and gets rid of all of my highlights. Okay. And I think that's pretty much it. Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about this one. I really want to talk about this one. What time is it? Gosh. Okay. We got what, an hour-ish? We're going till 6, so we got 2 hours left. Wow. So we have a long time. I need a break. We have to take a break. So this is probably one of the most. I'm going to tell you a story. Okay. I'm going to tell you a story of woe and sorrow that happened because I didn't have Vim info set. And like an idiot, I, calling myself an idiot, decided to trust Vim buffers, which I never, ever have trusted because they're just too limited. And this is actually one of those things that my Unix training taught me to do right. And, there's some things that I've had to update along the way, but this is something about the VI approach, about the Unix approach and the whole filter thing and everything that really burned me because I trusted Vim, the new improved Vim for something. And I'm going to tell you what that was. So when you copy and paste using a paste buffer in Vim, right? Then and people who use Vim buffers are just asking for problems. And I cannot tell you how much trouble you're going to get yourself in. The alternative to this, by the way, is what? Send all that buffer out to a file and then import that thing back in, which I do all the time. So watch, I can do this right now. I can do bang, bang, and then I can do yank, 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 and it gets written to a buffer, an actual temp/foo buffer file, and then I can go anywhere else on the planet and I can give you that file, buff, and there's my buffer, right? And so it's just a Vim filter. It works everywhere. It works everywhere. It works even if it's in another script. It works in a different editor. It works in a million different things. And then I don't have to deal with it. It works in VI. It works in Vim. It works in NeoVim. It works in NVI. It works everywhere. But if you depend on, and you guys know what I'm talking about, right? If you depend on, right, and by the way, those buffers are in my dot files. They are YYY, PPP, and YYY, right? EIC, PPP, and you can name them something better. I mean, you can make up your own, but I'm just trying to tell you how simple it is to create your own buffering system that will work anywhere, right? And that you can use in a Unix filtery kind of way in your command lines, your pipelines and stuff. And DDD just deletes it. So it's only the same thing. That's all it is. And that was my answer to this after that. But I still, you should still change this. And let me tell you why. So here's my story of woe. I went in, I was doing some refactoring on some code that I was getting ready to save in a commit, and that's already a problem, right? Because it was supposed to be a functional commit, and I didn't feel like making a lot of working commits and having to squash later and everything. I think, no, I don't want to mess my commit history up, which is a bad thing. You should probably be okay with squashing your commit history anyway, and then just doing working commits and calling it a day. That's the best way to get around this. But I didn't, and I had this huge file that I needed to refactor. And what did I do? So it was huge, right? It was like, I think it was part of a book that I was writing. And I went into it and I I got to one line, to one part of it, and I said, okay, I want to split this file, and I could use I could use, the split command, and a million other things. And I did. I went to that line and I said, okay, delete to the end of the file. And then I exited VI, how you can do, right? So D to the end of the file, right? And then you go to another file, right? And then you go down here and you push P. You see how P pasted it all in there? So there's something magical about the new version of Vim, which can, use a paste buffer between Vim sessions. And first of all, this is not supported in VI at all, but it's a Vim thing, and I got myself used to using it, all right? I got really used to using it. Whereas before I had been like, I would have sent all that data to a file, and then I would have, :r'd that file back into the other file at that location. That's the standard way to do it. It has been for years. And so the problem is that, wrap scan. Well, yeah. So the problem is that when I did that, I didn't have enough. So people don't know this, and I don't know if I want to show you my Vim info because there might be stuff in there I don't want to show. But your Vim info file is where all of this like active session, hacking and stuff goes on, right? And unless you increase the size on the yanks and deletes, I'm just opening a new buffer if I want that, right? And you can open a buffer. That's another way to do it. I don't like Vim buffers for all the same reasons. They're non-standard and everything. So I just write it to a file, and then I open up another file. We're fine, I like dealing with the files, and I just wrote myself like a few 3-liner little filter scripts to take care of dealing with my own buffers. I'm never dealing with more than one buffer at a time. Some people are. Some people do that a lot, right? I don't. And that might make me slower. I don't know. I just don't like it because I went back to paste. This is the critical part. So I went back in another file to paste that from my Vim buffer, and it was gone. And there was nowhere to go for it. I had lost like 8 hours of work, and it was completely gone. The buffer overflowed. It didn't tell me it overflowed. It didn't tell me it couldn't save anything. I didn't have another backup file to go to, and I was screwed. And then I went on the internet and I read that a lot of other people had that exact same problem. And I was like, why did I ever do this? Why did I ever trust Vim, internal, inter-session buffers or whatever you want to call them? And I was like, no, I'm done with that. But in there's this line you can add that will increase the amount that you can do for that. For showing if you're in insert mode when a beginner. Oh, insert mode? That's cool. What does that do? Insert leave. Oh, you're changing the line? Oh, you're doing the underline. You're just turning the underline stuff on. You're doing this. Wait, where's mine? This. You're changing the thing when you're on insert mode? Yeah, the horizontal line. I have that. But you see you turn it on when you're on insert mode? That's interesting. That's a nice idea. That's a great idea. All right, so particularly for beginners, if they want to know they're in insert mode, I just look down at the bottom. So not a fan of bracket matching. Okay, so there's another if eval, right? So we're doing vimtiny detection. I'm not a fan of it. I don't like bracket matching for folding, so I turned that off. You won't know what this is unless we're doing some Go coding or something. Like if you wanted to do, right now, what is the percent? I never do it. What is it, guys? I don't remember. I never ever do it, so that's why I can't remember. Oh, look at that. See that? I saw an error. This is an error right here. Yeah, this needs to be a tab. I just caught an error of my own. Yeah. So those all need to be tabs. I can't believe I didn't notice that before. A good thing it's on now. Okay. Set. Well, we'll just write it. Be done with that. Is it percentage? Is it percentage that does it? I never do it. I don't do it. Yeah, that's it. That's it. So if you want to, so the block match. It only works with brackets though. So I don't know if that's related, but that's the one I think it is. I don't. What is too much? I don't even know. There's some people who really like this. There's a plugin called Rainbow that'll show you all of your matching brackets in different colors. It's pretty cool. A little bit of not a little, a lot of overhead on every edit though, and display. So help no. I mean, if you add too many things, you might end up slowing down how fast your screen is, and then you can't like spam J and K to reset or something like that. It's gotten faster with that though. When a bracket is inserted, briefly jump to the matching one. Oh yeah. No way. This one automatically jumps to the bracket and it gets in your way and it slows you down. That's why it's off. I don't like that. Wrap around when scanning. Wrap scan. You were telling us to set that on. That's a good one too. That's just so you can go all the way around to the end if you want. Loading file. You can turn that off. Yes, you can. But you can do it depending on the file too, the file type. Yeah. Wraparound scanning. That's obvious. Okay, so this actually, I went to a great deal of length to write every one of these out because this is probably one of the most confusing settings in all of Vim. And it's called not folding. It's not, this isn't it. That's not it. It must be format, I think. It's format, right? It's set FO. Wait, why isn't it showing it? All right, there it is. Oh, by the way, did you guys see what I did? This is something that I haven't been using a lot before, but I'm going to start using a lot more now. Anytime you're on anything that needs documentation, whether it's in Go or VI or anything, Vim has built-in built-in help docs for everything. So like I can see over here, I'm in Go, right? So I'm going to put my cursor on something that I want information about, right? Anything. And then it's Control K. Is that it? No, it's Shift K. It's Shift K. So that one's undocumented. Oh, well. So let's do this one. Shift K. That one's undocumented. I guess we're going to have to find a function. Yeah, this is a structure. That's why. So Z command, right? So I go to Z command and I do capital K. Undocumented. How about this one? There we go. How are they undocumented? No, still undocumented. Oh, it's because it's my own. That's why. Yeah, this one will be documented. There we go. No, it's not documented. What the hell? Well, let me open something else. It's because it's I picked the wrong file to show you. This is my own stuff. That should also be documented. Yes. Okay, path.join. Here we go. Yes, bash scripts is great. So Command K, there we go. Okay, join path.join. Path joins any number of path elements, right? So I just wanted to show you can use capital K to get docs on stuff. And I just barely remember that you can do the same with VimScript. So I just barely remember this trick. So I didn't remember what FO was, and I can instead just do Shift K, and it will show me exactly which one it is. And apparently it is create fold for lines. That doesn't make any sense. Why would it go to that? Oh, no, it is fold. Okay. Delete one fold at the cursor. Create a fold for lines in range. It doesn't seem like it's the right one though. I don't know where I documented that. I don't know where this is documented. File types by plugin. What are you talking about? These different clipboards. Oh, I know. I agree. Just the defaults. These are changed per file type by plugins. Most of the utility of all of these has been superseded by the use of modern simplified pandoc for capturing knowledge sources instead of arbitrary raw text files. All right, so I don't know where these things apply to. I'm trying to figure that out for you, but I spent a long time like breaking down each one of these settings and removing it or adding it. When you do plus or minus, it adds it or removes it from that string, and it's a big long, I'm pretty sure it's a formatting string. So we can do set FO. Yeah, there it is. Format options, there it is. Okay, we should probably put that here. Just the format options, defaults. I'm going to change this. Oh man, it doesn't know how to do wrapping. How stupid is that? That's really lame. It's lame that my BinScript plugin doesn't know how to do Vim wrapping. It's gonna break it. See how it doesn't know how to do comments? That's most of the time if you do wrapping like that with WG or GW, it'll fix it. So these are format options, and there's like an infinite number of them. It seems like there's so many of them. You need to read them all, and I'm not gonna do that right now. Just not. Required platform environment variable be set. So if the platform equals Mac, and I don't do this anymore. I used to set platform equals Mac in my bash RC by conditional detection. We talked about that last week. And that is actually a good thing to do because you can, pull them in. You can set the backspace to indent, EOL, and start. And I mean, there's a number of things here. Wait, whoops. It used to be you had to set backspace all the time. You had to like have all the different keys. In the old days, backspace and delete never worked. I think that might be a leftover from that. Stop complaints about switching buffers when changes. I don't know. I don't know what that is. I don't know what it is. When a buffer is unloaded, it is abandoned. When a buffer becomes hidden, it is abandoned. I don't care about buffers. I don't use them anyway. So I use files or something. Command history. So set Unix history equals 100. This is just your VI command history, so you can push up arrow on this if you want to redo something. And those get saved in your Vim info file if you want to know. Be careful with that because, if you stream your Vim info file, you might have commands in there that you don't want people to see. It might not be a file that you want to save in your Git. That's another reason to be selective about what you put in your dot files. I did promise you that we were going to make a repo for your dot files, but we have to learn Git first, so we'll do that next week or thereabouts. And so what else do we have? We have plugin stuff that are needed. If has syntax, then turn syntax on. Faster scrolling. You can actually turn all the syntax off. Yeah, so you can do, was it no syntax? Is it syntax disable? It's a weird one. I don't remember. Syntax clear. Look at that. No syntax. If you don't want syntax, you don't have to have it, I guess. Syntax, tab, case, cluster, bold, enable. So, hipster photo on GitHub. It's kind of a test to see if you're gonna take me seriously, even though I have a stupid photo. If you are, you pass. You can be my friend. If not, go back to pointy hair land. All right. Anywhere, faster scrolling, TTY fast. Yeah, I have that set because otherwise I would die. File type plugin on allows sensing of the file type. This is super important. Make sure you have this one on. It's usually the default. High contrast for streaming. Set your background to dark. There's background and light. They try to do, themes inside of Vim, but I'm not always a fan of that. I use a plugin for that. So, and then there's a bunch of like things that I've taken over, and we haven't even got to some of the other stuff yet. But there's a bunch of the other like colors that work really well with what I have. And so, get good with using the highlight command. That's what this one is. The highlight command is the one that lets you set your colors. And by the way, while you're doing that, if you do, what is it? Highlight. Yeah, there you go. If you do the highlight command, it will show you what all your colors are. And then you can see how everything is colored so you can kind of deal with it. I spend way too much time and money looking at this stuff because I want to there's something that's some god-awful green and I need to change, right? So it is fun. It is fun to get into that stuff. But the takeaway from this is don't make another highlight type unless you have to. There's probably already one there. You just have to find it, right? And so you'll see me using that in my highlight a lot. So normal, for example, normal, special, linear. I mean, I'm not inventing my own types. You can, but the first time is a pain. It is a huge pain. But when you go about learning it, you can go through it. Again, I told you this VimRC is mine. I've been working on it for 20 years. So and it's kind of a part of joining the Linux culture is to administer, and you start out with one from somebody else, and over time, you get it to be better, and that drives some people nuts. They're like, why can't it just be so easy to use? Have you tried to use JSON files in VS Code, by the way? They're not any easier. So, I have my color overrides here for different file types that I colors that don't match my particular. By the way, I run a darkened version of Grubhub. That's my color theme, if you want to know. And I do Markdown and Pandoc for that. Okay, some other things too you can set. So you can actually independently set your tab stop. So when I have a YAML file, I do set a soft wrap. I mean, the indentation at 4. For Bash, I do 2. For C, I force the indentation to be 8 because C. So, and vim sin reg up links to vim sin option. Did I screw it up? Yeah, I could probably do a link. Yeah, I could probably do a link to the other one. Yeah, there's probably a lot of things I can fix in here. But this is just really raw experimentation, trying to get stuff to work. And something, probably the most important thing that I've noticed is that C term and term are not the same thing. And there's some, like, getting good with, like, whether you use the C term or the term, sometimes they overwrite each other. Oh, okay. So, yeah. Anyway, so sin options, I don't even know what that is. Help. Sin options. What is that? Affect the way C indent re-indents lines in a C program. Oh, I think I might have added that last Christmas when we were doing the C coding. That's why I don't remember it. I don't use it very much. Edit reload vim or vimmer config. Here I is. I'm asking myself how to do this whole entire time, and there it has been the whole time. So this is a no remap. So this is how you map keys to different things. So this says conf E and conf R. So that means I'll have to type conf E really fast. Hey, it did it. It did it. Here, I'll show you. Let's do it. Let's change the color or something. So conf E and conf R, I did not know that was the thing. Edit source. Oh, wait, darn it. So Vim, this is just a Vim thing, right? If you type stuff fast enough, you can do it. People use this all the time to map JK to escape, and I don't do that. So anyway, this is my ruler format. I must have spent like 40 hours on this. And I am not even going to attempt to tell you what everything does. All I can tell you is it's not what you think. Some of this stuff, it gets like truncated before it should, and all kinds of other stuff. This here is what gives me this right here. All right. This is a very, very customized ruler format. And I'm going to let you go learn about it yourself. But that is my ruler format. And by the way, I did it that way because I didn't want a bunch of junk over here. I wanted to increase the line length. So here's the default, right? And this is why I just copy and paste. This is what I've been trying to say. So when the option is not empty, it determines the content of the ruler string. The format of this option is like that of status line. So you have a status line and a ruler line in Vim. So one of them is on top of the other one. And as you can see right now, see this down here. This is the status line, and this is the ruler line. And the reason that I made a complicated ruler line is because I don't like blowing away an entire line on the bottom of my every single window because I'm already losing a line in TMUX. Hey, thank you, Stitch. I'm already losing a line in TMUX to, to this thing, a row, losing a row in TMUX. And so I didn't want, I appreciate the subs, guys. And so then, you get this extra line here, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to stuff everything that would normally be in the status line down here. I'm going to stuff it in my ruler line so that I use the least amount of screen real estate for that. And this here tells you what your file type is. This is super important. So you know what you're getting. It tells me what file I'm editing. It tells me the line number I'm on and how far down in the file I am. And with this little bit of stuff here, I can turn off line numbers. I don't have to enable a status line, which gets enabled automatically when you're in help mode. As soon as I exit the help watch, it'll go back. See? And now it's on the same line, but it doesn't blow away two lines. And so you might want to look at that at 1610 displays. Find aspect ratio. It really is. And so that's my suggestion. If your path is really big, it will actually truncate it before you really want it to, but it does do a good job of showing you what file you're in. You have to have this. If you don't have that, you're gonna screw up, man. You're gonna screw up. So make sure you have something down there that you appreciate. And I'm doing some math here even. That's what this is doing, by the way. There's like some math calculation going on inside of the formatting rule, which took me a while. All right, so you've been waiting very patiently for plugins, so let's jump right in. If you need to pause the video or something, go ahead. We still have 2 hours left. We're going from 2 to 6, but this is something about plugins we do need to talk about. And before we get into plugins, actually, I am going to take a break, and I'm going to pour myself a drink. So I'll be right back with you in just a second. All right, so we're on break for a second. All right, now we're ready to talk about plugins. Oh, that's a nice one. That's a nice command. That's chaser in there, by the way. I don't want anybody to get freaked out. Don't get freaked out. There's a big old chaser in there. All right, so there, gluten-free, USA organic. I can unpause now, right? Oh, it's very good. Oh God, that's good vodka. Okay, here we go. All right, so I'm supporting homegrown vodka. So before we can talk about plugins in Vim, please boost conscientiously. I do not suggest you drink while and drive or working or anything. This is my weekend, so I'm just having fun. I'm also not a drunkard, I swear. I promise. That's my wife. Well, yeah, that's my wife. So cheers. Here's to Vim plugins, okay? So let's talk about Vim plugins for a second. And because the reason we have to drink a little bit when we talk about plugins is plugins are probably the source of biggest contention when it comes to editors in general. And the difference between editors and editing and on all of that jazz, you know what I'm saying? And so when we get into this topic, I kind of jokingly here, I want people to just relax, okay? Because everybody gets really bent out of shape over the best way to do this, and God knows I am one of those people. Cheers. I didn't call her out, did I? For calling me a drunkard? I wasn't calling her a drunkard. Okay, so let me just tell you where I'm coming from on the whole plugins thing, okay, before we get going. You already know that the least amount of technology to get the job done is my approach. And that's not because I'm conservative. It's not because I'm old. It's not because I have a gray beard. It's because technologists tend to over-engineer things and make things too complex. The more advanced the technology, the more indistinguishable it is from magic, the simpler it appears when it's being used. And so far, I mean, we've already noticed, I mean, just from the formatting line there, this is not the kind of thing that, you're gonna. I have actually. I've taught young people not how to do the format line, but I've taught kids as young as 9 how to use VI. But it's people shy away. Linux gets a bad name. All the controversy in 2021 when Linus Does Tech, got really frustrated with Linux and he and his sidekick were doing their thing, and then his entire community ripped into Linux and the whole community and how it's overly complex and Linux people are dumb and they do things they don't need to do. It's 2022. Why are you using the terminal? And Linux people are mean unnecessarily to other. I mean, really a lot of very valid critiques of the industry and of Linux and the Linux community, but a lot of it was unfounded, and it was based on this emphasis on technology when you don't need technology. And so when we go into this topic, I do like to kind of relax, okay? So the first thing I'm going to tell you is that you absolutely do not need plugins. You actually told Luke that? Okay, where's my drink again? Okay. Here's all the great opinions out there. So the first thing I want to remind everybody is that VI is a text editor. Not only that, Vim is a visual mode. It's not an IDE. What's the difference? Someone tell me the difference between an IDE and a text editor. While I drink. What's the difference between an IDE and a text editor in your opinion? In your opinion. Anyone? Anyone want to try? Plugins, okay. Okay. One is raw, no debugging tools. IDEs run the code. Interesting. Yeah, that's true. Okay, so let's get some examples of IDEs. Everybody has an example of this because usually people hate them. They either love them or hate them, right? So IDEs in general are bigger. You have we talked about this earlier, but we're just having to rehash it because we're about to get into the plugins thing, and that's one of the big pieces of an IDE usually. IntelliJ is a popular one. Eclipse, VS Code's an interesting one, right? Is that an IDE or is it a text editor? It kind of wants to be both, right? We'll get back to that one. Eclipse is definitely an IDE, big fat one, right? Anybody who's actually used Visual Studio and not Visual Studio Code, there's some really interesting write-ups about some code refactoring that they went through, and they found something like 500,000 lines of code that's not even being used at all anymore in the Visual Studio code base. There's a Microsoft guy who wrote about that. It's pretty interesting. PyCharm is another one. Visual Studio And so when we talk about IDEs and text editors, people get really, really, like get their fists out, get ready to punch somebody because it's their favorite thing. It's like asking them what their favorite color is, or stuff like that. How dare you not like my favorite game or something. So if PS Pad, here's one. Notepad plus plus, Notepad plus plus, IDE or text editor. We could argue all day about that, right? How about this? How about Sublime? No one said Sublime so far, which is kind of funny because Sublime set the standard for lightweight text editors. So Adam's gone now, but so if anybody knows their history about lightweight text IDEs or editors, whatever you want to call them, so Sublime came out, which is proprietary, Notepad, simple text. And said, hey, I want to be, Notepad++, this is another one. And they said, let's do a little bit more. Let's make our editor a little bit, smarter. And so they would put all this extra stuff in there. And then Sublime came out, and then a bunch of JavaScript-based ones came out around the same time. Brackets, Atom, and VS Code. Brackets came from Adobe. Atom came from GitHub. VS Code came from Microsoft. And then Microsoft bought GitHub, and then Atom went away last year, actually a couple months ago. It's still around, but yeah, I mean, it's not officially being supported by the same people anymore. Anyway, so Electron was a big part of that, blah, blah, blah. So the concept of the lightweight editor, or this editor that fits between a traditional fat IDE, Visual Studio, we'll say, and the VI or Ed or something Nano that just barely edits the text, Sublime text, not Sublime, Simple Text, Notepad. You got all of that over here, and then you've got your fat editors over here, and then you got this thing in the middle, and that's hence the name Visual Studio Code, which is very confusing for beginners, by the way. Microsoft, I really wish you hadn't done that. I'm dealing with beginners all the time, and they go download Visual Studio. And they're like, it's so hard to edit, and it's why do I need this? I'm not doing C, blah blah blah. And Sublime was way ahead of its time. It was the reason Sublime died is because it stayed proprietary and chose to stay that way no matter what. And it was very efficient. People still use it, love it, but the community came to hate it. If you want to read some real hate, go read the bulletin boards of Sublime plugins and extensions and stuff. Because all of these people had great ideas and are being completely shut down by the guy, the single person who made Sublime. So it was just a matter of time before Sublime got blown up and everybody started using other stuff. It's for real C# developers. You should have called it VS Codium, or something like that. It would have been great. I dropped Sublime because of how much they charge for Simple Project. Yeah, I know, it's crazy. And that's what it's proprietary software. Okay, so what does any of that have to do with plugins? All right, where's my drink? So plugins are the point at which Vim stops being Vim, right? We spent an extraordinarily large amount of time talking about the Unix philosophy and lightweight editors and YYY and PPP and DDD and how to create your own buffers and not necessarily depend on VI for it's just being a text editor, right? Treat it like a text editor. And I'm going to tell you all the reasons I still think that's the right way to go. Already I've told you that you're going to be on any number of systems. You're not going to have all of your wonderful plugins, right? And as we go into the plugins thing, the first thing I want you to notice is how few of them I have, right? I don't have a lot of plugins. There's a couple of plugins that are mandatory, one of them especially before we do go. But as you're dealing with plugins, you're starting to pull in a lot of complications that people that use VS Code are very, very familiar with. So I gave up VS Code after using it for a year, even telling people to get off Vim and use VS Code in my mentorship community. And some of which Gabe in particular would like shaking his head at me. He's like, oh my God, dude, what are you talking about? Do you have any idea what you're saying? You know how long it takes to load? And I slowly kept adding plugins to my VS Code. And pretty soon I started to feel that IDE weight. It wasn't the kind of thing I could open up a quick JSON file and just edit anymore, right? And people were asking me, like, why are you even doing that? Just open the file and leave it open all day. Let VS Code just sit on your machine and run all day. Don't you dare turn it off, because if you turn it off, you're going to have to wait 5 minutes for it to load again. And so it's literally the polar opposite of like a text editor, where you just pop up a thing and edit and go back, pop an editor and go back. And people yell at me all the time, not yell, but they say, why are you dropping out of a file so much and going back into another one in VI? I said, because I can. Because I can. That's the point. The point is like to adapt and be flexible and fast. And that's what Unix gives you. That's what VI gives you. But as soon as you add too many plugins, you end up getting an IDE, and that IDE has all the problems of an IDE. Are you going to find VS Code on your jump box at work? Hell no. You're going to be lucky to find Vim 8, right? Are you going to find it on, but if you're living on a machine and you're never leaving that machine, then maybe use it. And this is where all of the ways of not moving your Vim come in. People put plugins on thing, to force, VS Code to talk to remote servers and do all kinds of god-awful crazy technology just to get it to do what you could have done with SSH and VI. So this becomes an issue as we get into it. Okay, so I think I've said enough about this. In order to get people at least on the same wavelength with me, a bachelor C file, IW get it, short bit, you got your diff files, you're done. VSC has a couple ones all in one file. Wow. You put your vimrc lines in your git bash, in your bash. Wow, that's even better. Yeah. So again, people like Het, Tanis, who are professional enterprise, operations people, they get this. Okay. The people that don't get this are the front end developers, or the really behemoth software engineers who are like doing really crazy things with tens of millions of lines of code, and they tend to not even like VI at all. But here it comes, right? VI and the VI method and navigation and everything have become so popular because of all its other benefits that we have started to see a new generation of VI-based or Vim-based IDEs. And that is exactly what NeoVim is. NeoVim is no longer a text editor, okay? NeoVim, hence Neo, throws out the premise, and I'm going to rant on this just a little bit. NeoVim throws out the premise of VI just being the visual mode of X and says, no, Vim needs to be an IDE. And not only does it need to be an IDE, it needs to be an IDE for which we can make really elaborate, amazing plugins that are written in Lua, that are really speedy, that have crazy ass abstraction, that can do amazing things. And you know what? For that, it's done a very successful thing. NeoVim is an amazing IDE, but it is no longer VI. NeoVim is no longer VI. NeoVim is what you get when you go to the end of the path that we're about to talk about, hence the vodka. Okay? And I don't want you to walk away from this with me slamming NeoVim, because I don't. If you want to use NeoVim, fine, but just know that you are using an IDE. You're not using VI anymore. You might be able to use VI mode. You might be able. It's like using Doom on Emacs. So you're using VI mode, but you are no longer using VI. Okay, you're using something else. You're using something that's Vim friendly, but it's no longer like Het just said. It's not the kind of thing that you can just copy an RC file over to a machine and you're done. If you truly get into that ecosystem. Then you have to take all of it with you. You have to take, I remember when I was doing VS Code, I had to have a backup of my JSON configuration file so that when I went on another computer, I could use it. And then I would spend like 20 to 30 minutes downloading all the plugins just so the thing would open so I could do editing on the file. That is the opposite of the visual mode of X. That is not the same thing. It's a different thing entirely. And I am not attacking it. I am telling you that it's different. And if you're going to do that, just make a conscientious choice to do so. Cheers. Yeah. Are we still friends? Are we all friends here still? Can we all be friends here? Can we please be friends here? I want to be friends here because I have had lots of drama over this topic in the past. And I am cheersing all of my friends, including TJ, is one of my favorite people. Who's also a core member of the Vim team, who I think has written me off as a human being, which is unfortunate. Because I think he's done amazing things. He's a brilliant engineer. Other people too that I won't mention. And they've chimed in on this thing, and I think we've lost our friendships over this issue, and I feel bad because the whole thing all along was not really about personal selection and choice and the amount of work that people have done and how dare you poo-poo on everybody's work and contributions to FOSS. That's not what it's about. What it's about is it's about the misrepresentation of it as a VI and all of the people for whom VI has become a daily tool to use. Okay, so all right, so here let's do this before. Okay, so let's just do this. It overall applies apples and oranges versus Vim is no longer apples to apples, but apples and oranges. They're just different things. And I wish that people wouldn't get confused about them, right? Yeah, and by the way, if you want to use NeoVim because you need you know what? I am glad, me too. Because I want you to know that if you want a very, very Vim-centric IDE that lives on your system and you're going to be doing nothing more than development on that system, then hell yeah, look at NeoVim if you want to do that. But if you want to be a Hetanis or an AnyASCII, a security expert or an operations enterprise engineer, or you want to be me, an RWX Rob, you don't want it. You don't want anything to do with it. Because you want to be able to be agile. You want to be able to move on to a system you just hacked and use whatever text editor is on the system. Okay? I think NeoVim is a fantastic alternative to VS Code. I actually do. I like VS Code too. Most of the time, if I'm going to use a fat IDE, I want graphics stuff of some kind, right? All right. So let's agree on that point and let's keep moving on. But I really wanted to cover that well, and I didn't want to sell it short because I have had major drama over this topic in the past, and I just want to heal those wounds and move forward. Okay. So plugins. My opinion, the best, there's, again, cheers, right? There are holy wars over which plugin system to use in Vim. In fact, I think we can make a pretty strong argument that one of the motivating factors for NeoVim was the holy wars over plugins. In front of a Hackety server, guess what text area you'll have? Vim or Nano or something, right? I was thinking about when you were in the discussion earlier today with someone who just go, oh boy, not right now though, please wait. It's almost like programmers are paying people, and they should be. We should be. We just, and all of us, including me, we need to, take it easy. So I'm just going to cut to the chase here. We have time, but I just want to cut to the chase. My favorite plugin editor, plugin system is Plug. And you can go to Plug, and you can see it here on GitHub, JuneGun Vim-Plug. And let me tell you why I like Plug. Okay, so there are a number of plugin editors. I don't even want to get into them all. I don't even remember them all. But the reason that Plug wins for me is for one reason and one reason alone. Plug does not fill your Vim directory and mess up your vimrc with non-essential stuff. So if you use any of those other plugin editors and you try to store your vimrc and your plugins file or something like that, what ends up happening is, so there's another file here that we haven't talked about yet called .vim, right? And this directory has your autoload in it. It has your spell checker and a bunch of other things in there, right? And every other editor, every other plugin manager for Vim, we're not talking about NeoVim, it's a totally different thing. It has a Lua plugin base and everything. But for Vim itself, every other plugin editor that exists, and Vim, by the way, has its own plugin editor, which I have not tried. I mean, I tried it in 8 and it was not good enough. It was just not good enough. It just was not there. And 9, maybe it's better. I don't know. I'm not going to try it because I use Plug. And let me tell you again why I'm going to use Plug. Because Plug puts everything. First of all, it uses Git for its plugins. Or actually, it uses something akin to Git. I don't think it's actually Git. But you see what it does here? You can actually say, I want to put all of my plugins in a different place. I've been plugging them. Yeah, just have to move it. And so what it does, the reason I like it is because it maintains all of the plugin code outside of the main Vim code. And that might not seem like it makes a difference, but when we get into saving it in GitHub, you'll see why. So like if I go to my dot files, right? If I go to my dot files and I go into Vim, right? ls-la, you'll see that I have a .vim here, and this Vim is actually sourced from .vim. Here you'll see that it's maybe not actually. Oh, I didn't link to it. That's interesting. That explains a lot actually. But usually I have that source. I didn't run my setup script on it apparently. So this is how I do Vim, and we already learned Bash a couple weeks ago. So I will link vimrc and Vim, and then I keep the plug.vim file, which is the plugin itself, is the only plugin file that I keep with my Git files. Right? It's the only one that I keep because I need it to pull down all the other plugins. So again, the goal being, I want to be, like Het said, I want to be portable to any system really quickly, right? So I can copy my vimrc file over to any system, even an AIX system, and I can be immediately productive. If I have internet access and I want to do something that needs one of the plugins, I can actually go pull the plugins down off the internet or whatever, and the plugins will come down and they'll cache into a place that's not overriding anything that I would back up. And that's the big thing. All the other plugin managers don't do that. They get in the way. They're too intertwined into your config files so that you can't cleanly separate them out. I do add my spell files, but I don't have them added here for some reason. Yeah, the spell files is a tough one because I'm always redoing my. There's a file, in case somebody's wondering. There's a file that has all your spelling messages and stuff in it, and I frequently forget to do that because it's a really hard file to keep up to date because you're on like 10 different systems, and to keep all of them. I mean, if you're just copying a vimrc over and you're doing vim pull or vim plug install, and you get all your plugins and you just kind of start going, right? To try to like pull my spelling file from my external GitHub on an internal system, it usually is not enough work for me to do. I usually I just skip. I don't care, right? But I do want some of this other stuff. So the first thing I want to show you here is this line right here. This is super important. Okay, so if I just, like Het said, if I just copy my vimrc file over, right? If I just SCP my vimrc file over to a system and I want it to work, it will work. This entire plugin section will be ignored. If you don't put that in there, it will try to do the plugin thing even though you just want your syntax and stuff to work. So this is a really, really key line. I really think you should have this if you're going to do anything with plugins. What you want to do is you want to see if you actually want the plugins. So if I want plugins on a remote system, I make sure to make a .vim directory. Usually I symlink it to my GitHub files. And then I make an autoload and I put vim.plugin. I put it in there. And that means that I have explicitly added the plugin support. And now I'm ready to go. So if that file is there, it says, okay, let's go ahead and run it. And so it runs the plugins file and it runs plug, and it does all of that, right? And it gives me all the plugins. We're going to go through each of the plugins in a bit. And then after this is just all custom configuration for the individual plugins. And my plugins are pretty damn limited. In fact, I'm thinking about removing some right now. I don't need mustache handlebars. I don't need Vim Rainbow anymore. Pandoc I need. Pagan Syntax I need. That's my own plugin. Vim Fugitive is pretty cool, although I don't know what it's doing for me. Terraform I added, and Groovebox. So Groovebox is like really important. I use that. That should probably be first, actually. That's one of my most important ones. VimGo is important. VimDoc is important. Pandoc. I made my own plugin. So So I made my own Vim Pandoc syntax. I forked instead of trying to get a PR in because I wanted to add smart quotes to Pandoc and a number of other things. So I made my own. I made my own plugin for that. And all you have to do to add your own plugin, by the way, especially if you're on GitHub, is just make a GitHub repo and make sure you follow the same convention, and anybody can use it as a plugin. That's pretty much true of all the plugins managers on GitHub. I mean on Plug. Now there's a big one here that I don't know what you're talking about. I'm not reading your comments. I hope it's okay. But this Fatih Vimgo is absolutely essential. And be careful though, because when you run this the first time, if you include this in there, it will automatically, the first time you run Vim, it will automatically try to install the binaries for Go, which can be quite a download over a VPN. So just be aware of that. That could take some time. If you have to cancel it, that's fine. You can go actually run Go install binaries on its own. This is a lot of stuff that you'll understand more when we start getting into Go coding. But the reason I'm highlighting it and telling you about it is because you cannot code in Go until you have that done. So one of your homework assignments after today should be get these plugins to work and get the Vim Go plugins to work as well. You're desperately going to need these. I mean, really desperately. If you don't have them, you're going to get import craziness. You're going to, not get auto formatting and a bunch of other things like that. I've never run into plugin conflicts, not once, because I don't have a lot of overlap. Vim Fugitive I've heard is a good thing. This has a lot of extra stuff. Tim Pope, is it Tim? What is his name? I think it's Tim. And T Pope is a god in the Vim community. Just so you know, a lot of his stuff comes from him. Fatih is a god in the Go community when it comes to Vim editing. And yeah, I mean these are really big people. HashiCorp is a big deal. I always use QWERTY because of Vim. Dvorak is horrible for Vim. Yeah, people use Dvorak and they're really fast, but if you're going to use Vim, forget it. Yeah, so I'm not a Dvorak keyboard fan, period, at all. The speed that I would gain with Dvorak would be completely lost on other, latency issues in my development, overhead. So I'm not a fan. It's not, coding is not about how fast you type. It's about how conscientiously you type, and what you search for and what you're putting in there and stuff. So the speed that's gained with Dvorak is not worth it to me. In fact, I've heard of a lot of international people actually getting American keyboards just because Control Left Bracket is better than Escape, because that's something that does matter. They do it all the time. Yeah, if you're going to do Dvorak, I would not do Dvorak at all unless you were writing a book, or you're like doing, I don't know, court transcription or something like that. I mean, there's really no reason. And we did typing contests with our friends here in the community, and they were like kicking my butt with Dvorak keyboards. So I'm like, okay, now let's see you use QWERTY, and they use QWERTY, they still kick my butt, but still, it wasn't as bad. So they switched to a US keyboard like 3 years ago. So much easier for me, really. See, the first time it was in Twitch that somebody reported that to me, and I couldn't believe it. It blew my mind. It blew my mind that an international person was promoting an American keyboard because of the placement of the Control Left Bracket Escape, just for the use of Vim. It also tells you how stupid Apple was to get rid of the Escape key. Even though I don't ever use it, being able to bail to the Escape key has always been something that everybody in the Linux world has used. And for them to remove it was just, and they added it back right. They added it back like immediately the next year. Like, whoops, sorry. Yeah, I'm pretty much a touch typist. My numbers and symbols are not very good. My numbers and symbols to this day are not very good. I still miss them all the time. But look, you don't have to be a really, really great typist unless you're If you are typing at maximum capacity on, I don't care what kind of keyboard, how ergonomic it is, if you're doing that for 6 to 8 hours a day, I promise you, maybe you'll get more code out, but you will burn out. Good coding is more about thinking. The best code I have ever written, and I am not fast. The best code I have ever written, the best projects I've ever made have been written. I've actually gone and walked through an algorithm. Like, for example, Pagan was largely invented that way. Keg was largely invented that way. I was able to disassociate myself from the keyboard and think through the problem and come up with the best possible algorithms, and then spend the right amount of time writing those things. There's an overemphasis on like sort of spastic typing speed and moving around with Vim and stuff, when in this sort of like leet code competition, hacker competition kind of thing. And unless you're doing athletic programming, which is a thing apparently, where you're being literally timed versus the other person to get something done faster, or you're hacking professionally or for fun. Speed when it comes to coding, it's better to produce high quality code that covers more of a variety of problems, in my opinion. Now, my biggest failure in technology, my biggest flaw is that I'm slow. I'm slow and I'm meticulous, but that's why CTOs love me. That's why people like to bounce their ideas off me, because they've been busting through an idea and they haven't maybe thought about all the angles of it. That's my superpower. My superpower is like thinking of all the angles of a problem and making sure they think of everything before they go busting ahead, making the wrong thing. And believe me, I've done that plenty too. So, software development and technology development is more about thought than it is typing speed. It's more than enough, absolutely. And something starting from pseudocode is the best. I do like pseudocode, like the explanation of it. I usually will do a straw man really quickly, and then I'll iterate on the straw man and I'll make something better, even if it's not a formal agile process. I do follow that myself. And you'll see me do that a lot on my own times as well. So anyway, let's get back into it. Everything looks like a nail. Yes. I don't want to lose your headphone jack. No kidding. I mean, some of that stuff is like, yeah. So I just want you to see that I don't have very many plugins, right? The VimGo plugin is absolutely essential. The Groovebox plugin is absolutely essential to me. The Pandoc plugin for my Zet and everything, absolutely essential. Even these other ones, the Terraform, Fugitive, and Syntax, I could do without. But, I have them, right? So I don't have a lot. And then I have a lot of customizations on these. One thing, I'm getting rid of the rainbow one. I actually really don't need Vim Terraform. I don't do Terraform anymore. Maybe I'll add it back if I'm going to add it later. I don't really need it. So this one though is really important. So this Golang stuff. The Golang stuff is super duper important. Make sure you add all this if you're going to do Go. Otherwise, you're not going to get all your highlighting capabilities. It's kind of sad that they don't make that default. I don't know why. I mean, seriously, I spent hours and hours going through recommendations and different things to figure this out. So before you do any Go programming, just make sure that's there. And we're 66% through, so we're going to make it through Vim at least today. I added a number of other things like Go test. I don't do any of these things, but you can if you want. This if error equals nil is kind of a good one. I type "n" all the time when I'm like editing, stuff. Let me see if I can find where's my Perl code. So there, you can make little macros. See, this thing here is people complain and Go because you have to do this all the time. So I do "m" real quick, and I get log print made, and I do that kind of thing. It's kind of a way of having shortcut keys. Just install the Go plugin for VS Code. Not for this session. And there's lots of reasons not to do that. When we get to the Go programming, it's certainly your option to use, Goland or Go VS Go plugin or any number of things. But this entire boost has been about using the terminal to do Go development and for all development. So if you choose to do that, that's fine. But I still think you should know how to do it for the command line. But when it comes to Go project development, you're usually talking about something that's on a higher end. I use Go for stuff that's equivalent to Bash scripting. So I'm big into Vim for doing it. We'll talk more about that in 2 weeks when we get ready for Go. I don't do any of these commands though. In fact, Go test, Go vet, Go build. I don't do any of Go coverage. I kind of do. No, I don't do that either because I have a Go coverage that like colorizes my links. I'm gonna get rid of those. Those are all sucky. They're all sucky. I don't use them. Get rid of it. Composites equals false. That's important for the analysis stuff. Yeah. Okay. So here's something that's fun. So if you don't have the plugin thing, you can set a pre-leave event. And what this does is it runs Go FMT, and it will reformat any of your files if you have Go on the system. So this other if then is like, you know, if I by the way, if I don't have any plugins, let me go ahead and at least use Go FMT, and that's what that if else is about. Okay, and that's it. That's it for plugins. That's it for plugins. We are done with plugins. Everything else in here is kind of like really, really extra and not really needed. But I'm going to go ahead and describe it to you. For the most part, though, you've got everything covered there. But so we're going to keep going here. So there's all the Go stuff. I have done a lot of Perl programming, and I went ahead and made a Perl tidy. So this is actually a Perl function I wrote that will execute itself on the file and clean it up. It basically is a Perl FMT. So yeah, currently it's disabled. Leader key, I use backslash by default, and then also comma. I use comma and backslash. Those are my favorites. And Vim pre-leave. This is kind of cool. I have it turned off right now, but what this does is it will automatically take anything in Perl and it will make a link to the GitLab repo. And this DuckDuckGo one is turned off right now, but this is, I'm super proud of this, even though it still runs. Okay, see this 2 emoji? Here, let me show you. You see the 2 emoji and 2 duck? Where's my 2 emoji? Is it still here? Did I delete it? Oh, no, it's a function. Okay, so I put 2 emoji and 2 duck into remember the Unix philosophy? This is why you don't need a plugin. You remember the Unix philosophy? Put it in a filter, yeah? Watch this. If you guys see 2 emoji. So, yep. So here is my bash RC. This says anytime is this using a bash associative array. So POMA or anything, right? So it's a Unix filter, right? It's a Unix filter. And it's written as a function, just like everything else. But what this says is work well and integrate well, absolutely. And so what it says is any kind of markdown file, every time I close a markdown file, right before it saves it, it filters it through 2 duck and 2 emoji. So like if I'm doing Zettelkasten notes, right? And or anything, I can do like VI readme. Actually, let's do foo. Foo MD, right? I can say some thing pomo here, right? And I save it, and I go open it again, and now it has a pomo there, right? If I wanted to do it like right there, I could just do here is a pomo, and then I could just do bang bang 2 emoji and have it replace it. Because filters, remember all the filter stuff we did like 2 weeks ago? Cheers. But it gets better. Watch this. Let's say I'm like, and play T2, I don't know without any GUI. Absolutely. Yeah, they will. Anything that supports Unicode, which is pretty much everything these days. If your terminal doesn't support Unicode, you need to use a new terminal. Honestly. So then we do this. We say, okay, I love GitHub. Okay. I love GitHub, but I don't know what to link there. So I'm just going to do that. But I'll talk more later. So let's say I'm writing a Zettelkasten entry and I want to publish a blog post, but I'm too lazy to go look up the references for GitHub right now, right? But I would love for people to be able to click on that link and get a DuckDuckGo search results for GitHub. Save, and I reopen it. Oh, look at that. It automatically populated the line that links to GitHub with a DuckDuckGo search without my doing anything. Because Unix filters and VI integration. So that, could I have written a plugin for that? Yeah. But why? Why write a plugin for it when I can write a script? The script could have been in Go. It could have been in anything. It doesn't matter because Unix. I don't know how many times I have to go here, but if you use Unix philosophy, it will benefit you longer in the long term. Not only that, but I can use these transformations on files that aren't even being edited in VI. Right? So when you go back to here, that's what these are doing. Right? And you can make your own transformations. You can make your own transformations that take like an entire table and render it in HTML. You could make an entire, I mean, there's a million things you could do. A million things you could do. If you wanted to, you could even say within a certain directory, I want to automatically render an HTML copy of every markdown file that I ever change without using a makefile at all. That's the power of VI. That kind of stuff, forget it. Forget it in VS Code or even in Vim. Those are things that you'd have to write a plugin for. You have to get crazy with. All you have to really do is put an event map here. That's what this is. It sets up an auto command map, and it maps it to an event called buff write post, which is the last thing it does. And you can do all kinds of amazing things by just using the Unix philosophy and putting all of your business logic, if you want to call it that, into separate scripts. You could have render HTML, right? And you could have one of those and it would automatically render the HTML. So any change you ever made to any markdown file in a particular subdirectory would go there. And that's the power of Unix scripting. It absolutely is the power of Unix scripting. It has nothing to do with VI. And so, the reason I don't have that many plugins, cheers, is because I can map an event while doing a Vim edit that uses Unix filters as God intended, God being Ken Thompson and Dennis Ritchie in the gang, and it just makes the transformation automatically by using Unix pipes. And the really crazy thing is I can write this in any language I want. It doesn't have to be Lisp. It doesn't have to be Lua. It doesn't have to be whatever. It can be Go. It can be C. It can be whatever. You can write whatever you want because it's the Unix philosophy at work. I can write whatever I want, and I can just map that event to a transformation through a filter, a Unix filter that can be written in anything. All right. All right. So there we go. So Vim pre-leave. Here's another one. If you want to, you can do the whole thing in one line. Here's one I have had commented out for a while. So you see this one right here. I'll re-enable it. This is kind of a cool one. Okay, this one automatically converts anything that looks like a Twitch ID into a link to a Twitch person using nothing but Perl. This doesn't even go out to a script. This doesn't even go out to the script at all. This just does a Perl Py in-place edit on the file and transforms anything that looks like a Twitch. It has a problem because I had to, it was overzealous. So please check it yourself before you do it. But it was a little bit overzealous. But so I can do something like this. I can say, hey there, who wants to be, I'll pick on Ping Ocho. Ping Ocho. How are you? Right? And I can save that and I can open it up again. And there's a link. Now it just replaced it with a link to their Twitch site. Because filtering, Unix filters, all that jazz. Do I have to keep, you got the point, right? So that kind of magic only happens when you follow the Unix philosophy. And I'm going to uncomment this. I happen to know this is a little bit overzealous. So I'm gonna turn it off for now. Twitch API get users info. How do I get Twitch ID? Well, in this case, I just have to type it. It assumes whatever I type. It assumes whatever I type has already been considered the right thing. I just put an @ sign in front of it. So it's basically just, and that's kind of the problem, is it replaces anything, literally anything, with an @ sign in front, with a Twitch link, right? And sometimes, like I happen to know it's flawed because It doesn't check to see. I mean, I remember writing code in like Markdown that had @ signs in it, and it would like blow out the whole thing. And that's why I have it turned off right now. But if you're writing, if you're writing, it's just an example. It's just an example, right? And frankly, this whole replacement thing should probably put in a script just like these. I could put it in a Perl script. And then I don't do it. But I'm trying to show you that you can one-line this stuff if you want. You can one-line it. You don't even have to have it in a script. You can put the script in here, and that becomes your plugin just by having Vim events. And Vim events are what make this truly possible. If you didn't have Vim events, you couldn't do any of this, right? It's the Vim events system that's causing you to be able to create events that trigger. And eventing in general is just an extension of the Unix philosophy. It's like, you get to trigger all those Unix filters and pipelines and stuff like that. It runs on to highlight the text when you delete or something. No, I don't. Right now I have it. This is doing it when I leave the file. Yeah. So I mean, I know it's overzealous, right? That's why it's commented out. Right. This one is a good one. You should probably look up the events. If you want to get into this, you should probably look at the Vim events. But this is the last event, and one of the safest last events that's going to happen before it gets saved, right? The Vim pre-leave, I think, is even after that other one. And these are events that happen in the event chain that are like really far at the end, and then they happen when you exit. So you're gonna make me bad. What am I supposed to say? VIM? Okay. Make Y consistent with D and C. Yank till the end. Okay. So this was somebody mentioned this to me. So for some reason that's not the way by default. So I fixed that. Better command line completion on wild menu. I don't even know if I'm benefiting from that, but I'm not going to change it because I've been using it forever. Disable no search highlighting with Control-C, one refresh screen. No HL. Oh, I know what's up with that. Yeah. I don't use this anymore. Oh, no, it's Control-L. Okay, so this is my Control-L, my friends. Okay, so you guys, what is Control... Okay, where's my vodka? I don't need vodka for this one, but I just want vodka. All right, so what does Control-L do? This is prairie vodka. This is good old American farm fresh vodka, as opposed to Russian vodka, which is also good. So let me ask a question. What does Control-L do in Vim? What does Control-L do? Come on, you know this. You're just too shy. Nobody wants to say. Did I already say it? Now you just don't want to say it because I already said it. All right, fine. I said Vim. I mean, not Vim. I said VIM. That not editor thing. It removes highlights from search, but it does more than that. Okay, so Control-L normally does what? It's a rather boring thing that's not needed modernly. In 1994, you kind of needed it, right? In 1994, Control-L would do what? So let me show you an example. Let me say, let's do this. Let's do broadcast. Let's see if we can do a wall. Wall, yo, sucker. Okay. Yo, sucker. Look at how everybody got an announcement. You see how my TMUX all went crazy, right? Right? Well, look at that. How dare they? How dare they send a message that just blows away my terminal? I thought I was in the middle of editing. Now I have no idea what I'm doing. Look at this. Broadcast message from what? What? Now, this is not as important as it used to be. When you used to be on a system, Pico CTF still has like 32,000 concurrent users on their system. So it is still a thing. But you can actually send, if you haven't ever done a wall, which by the way is really funny, if you ever want to really troll somebody on like over the wire, go on Bandit and start walling everybody. You'll confuse the crap out of them because it goes to everybody. And if you do shutdown -R or whatever, it'll actually tell them, hey, the system's going to reboot in 20 minutes. Get ready, end your work so you can log off. I mean, it's like, old stuff from the 1990s. And it really creeping the system, yeah. It is. It's a message broadcast is what it does. And it goes to everybody. And strictly speaking, what it does is it sends that ASCII text, like character for character, to all of the running TTYs on the system. And when you send anything to a TTY, it goes to that screen. Whether or not it makes sense or not, it goes to that screen at that moment. Right? Rest of the message. I should. It's like, yeah, oh wait. Well, no. I can't. Let's see. No что же. No. How's je? Ну что же? Ну что же с тобой? С тобой. How about that? What is it? It's show? It's show? Oh, fine. Damn it. Тоже. С тобой. Тобой. I can't do the Kraka. I haven't figured it out yet. Oh my gosh, look, everybody got it. Ну что же с тобой? And T-Mux freaks out and it tells you got another message. That means what's wrong with you. So what the hell is wrong with you? All right, so, okay, so pretend like I'm in the middle of editing something here, right? Yeah, I don't think so. Also, Taboy. I know, I told you I couldn't find the Ikrake. Not Ikraka, but the Miyaki I. I can't do Miyaki знак. Я не могу найти Miyaki знак. Это новая клавиша. Да. Да, мне надо его найти. Да. Да, я знаю. Я не так хорошо. Я уже все забыл на русском. Печатать не имею. Стараюсь, но пока не имею. Еще раз. Понятно? Все понятно, да? Okay, I should probably drink the Smirnoff vodka if I'm going to talk in Russian. Anyway, so here's the thing. Control F1. I can speak movie Russian. No stosha. Can you speak Russian like Sean Connery in what's that movie? No stosha. Я русский капитан. Я русский капитан. It's the worst. It's the worst accent I have ever heard. It's the worst Russian movie accent I have ever heard. He's supposed to be native Russian. Like, я не говорю по-русски, но я имею капитан русского теплохода. He's so bad. Oh god. Okay, here we go. So, wait, it's the vodka. I blame the vodka. I hope you're having fun because I'm having fun. All right, so here we go. Why do we care about this whole broadcast message thing? Besides, like, being able to troll your friends on Bandit while they're doing over the wire. What is another good reason to know about this? All right. By the way, you can end talk them too if you want to. It's a predecessor to IRC. Nice to know that Russian is fun. And it's not all, death and destruction. I mean, there's not we're not going to go there right now. There's many Russians that I deeply love and appreciate, just like, of course, the Ukrainians as well. So I just want that message to get out there that not all Russians are bad. So anyway, the term covenant is not used today in Russian society. Yeah, there we go. All right, so Control L. That was the whole point of this. All right, so cheers to Control L. What does Control L do? What does Control L do? Hey, look at that. It clears the screen. It clears the screen and it resets the screen and it puts it back to you want. And I guarantee you don't think you're going to need it now, but later on you're like, oh my God, how do I free up my screen? And you'll like log out. You're like, how do I exit Vim and all that stuff? But all you had to really do is do Control L. Now, Control L is a VI thing and a Vim thing. It's been around since the beginning. And so all I've done here is I've said, okay, instead of just making Control L, I have a problem here. What have I done? I've hurt myself. I've hurt myself somehow. Oh, I'm still typing in Russian, that's why. Why isn't my keyboard working? Oh, maybe because it's in Russian. VI does not work if your keyboard is set to Russian. So anyway, I mean, I imagine Russians have their own way of doing it. I don't know it. Anyway, so what this says here is that instead of Control L just refreshing the screen, it still does it. It said, let's go ahead and run no HL on top of that and then do this. All right. So my no HL command, it turns off highlighting. Okay. That's what my no HL does. So no HL, no. So like, see how I'm highlighting two emoji right now, right? If I do : no HL, it will turn it off. Right? Because that just turns off highlighting. It says I don't want highlighting on anymore. If I want to turn it back on, I think I can just do HL and it'll turn it back on. Maybe not. I think it wipes out all the current highlighting, extra highlighting that happens. I actually don't know. I don't know. Let's figure it out. No HL. Let's go see. There we go. So, okay. So HLS. When there was a previous search pattern, no HL search. You want to redraw stuff. No HLS, no HL. Okay, so that's what's going on. So it's just turning off all the highlighting. So this adds, yeah, and run. It's like you set more screws to run. Yeah, so I'm not going to do that. So that will basically what that does is like if I search for complete like that, I just do Control L and it goes away. I don't want to see it the whole time every time, right? You know what I used to do for this? It's a true story. Up until like a couple of years ago, anytime it was like that, so if I didn't want the completion to happen anymore, anybody want to guess? Rather than turning off the syntax highlighting, I would search for blah, 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 and hit enter. Because that works everywhere. That works everywhere. So like if you want to like, use highlighting and you want to like get rid of it and you're like sick and tired of it, like, maybe you got like AU or something like that, right? And you're like, oh, I don't want to see it on the menu. So you go search for blah, blah, blah. And then it will pattern not found. And then I've been doing that for like 40 years. So I'm not proud. I'm just telling you. That's like something you can do. And it's definitely a hack way to do it. But this is more elegant, right? So I just do Control L, search for scat map. So then we have the Omni function, set Omni completion. I do have Omni completion set. People ask me all the time, do you use tab completion when you're doing code generation? I have it set. I just don't ever use it. I don't remember to use it. And sometimes actually I'll do it on accident. But I can't even tell you how to do completion right now. I know that I have it enabled. I've been telling myself I want to give it a shot. God knows I believe in completion. I think it does help with the speed of development. It kind of helps you remember things. And, although I haven't been using COC and other plugins like it, which are very heavy duty, heavy-handed ways of doing completion, I personally could get on board with that with enough time. I think because I don't think you've crossed over into IDE land too much by adding tab completion. You're already using tab completion for everything else on Unix, right? I'm a big tab completion fan. I built it in my Bonsai tool. I think tab completion is the poor man's way of looking up help documentation because you can see all the possibilities. You don't really need a full tutorial with all of it, right? Sometimes you just need to remember what the word is. And by the way, if you do need a full tutorial of that, tmux and links and searching from the command line, which was supposed to be something we covered today in terms of configuration, but we might end up needing to cover that next week. We have like 50 minutes left. Okay, so let's keep going here. I am not a big control shortcut user. One of the reasons I'm okay with Control L is, I'm going to prove it to you, docker-rm, right? docker-run-it-rm-rm. Let's use Alpine, okay? And if I remember right, even Alpine, which is the VI in Alpine and BusyBox is even less functional than NVI or something on Unix or Solaris or something. And I'm pretty sure that it also supports Control L. It's one of the few like age-old things because of all the broadcast crap that we just talked about. That stuff's been around since the 90s. In fact, it was more prevalent then than it is now. So let's say we do food.txt and we do blah, 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 and search for a thing, search for SDF, and it finds it, but it doesn't highlight it or anything. And I don't think you can even turn highlighting on. But let's actually wall this thing. So how do I get it on the same machine? What machine is it? What is it? What machine? Dagnabbit. We need a host name. There we go. All right, so let me log into this and wall it so you can see what's happened. All right, so Docker was attach. Is it attach or exec? Oh God, that is not what I wanted. I don't know what I'm doing. Docker attach. All right, let me use my tmux instead. Oh wait, I can't use tmux because it's a different pane. Yes, okay. We're gonna go through this next week, if not this week. There we go. Attach. I probably need IT, right? Damn. How about we do exec and then bash. Damn. Is it not running? I see them in tmux was open before TDY, but not before PTS. I have a language server running. I don't have a language server running, no. Because I don't need one. I don't. I have Go. Go is a language server. Yeah. So, SSH, you think? Oh, there we go. Okay, yeah, of course it is. It's Alpine, duh. All right, so, yes. Wall, something. There's no wall. It's a container. No. Alpine has Ash, which is... Alpine uses a multi-call binary, which is... All these things are the same thing. Using BusyBox, which fits in 1.4 megabytes, so it can fit on a floppy disk. That's how old it is. Yeah. APK wall install. Yeah, let's try it. Y'all want to see this? Let's try it. So APK wall. Sudo no. I don't know how to do APK commands. I suck. I don't know Alpine very well. Help me out. So APK what? APK install ls add wall. Let's do that. Enable Linux patch as well. This is package required by world. Should we do? Is it world? I wonder what it's in. Anybody know the package it's in? I'm super curious to see if this works. I don't think it. The idea is that Control L works even on really, really old and minimal versions of VI. Even though it's a Control L thing, anything with Control is generally a Vim thing, but not that, like visual mode and stuff. I mean, like Control N and P for down and up. I'm pretty sure that's a thing. I've done Debian install. And yeah, I'm trying to use this one in particular because this has got the VI version on it. I wonder if it should have wall. World. Add. Is it netutils? Anybody know? Somebody know? A wall. I mean, it would be in here if it was in here. All right, there is no wall in here at all, actually. I don't know how it's going to work though. It's because it's Alpine, right? A wall, huh? Add dash U A wall. Oh, look at that. Ooh. Ooh, I think I like it. Hello there. Hello there. AWOL diff. That's not what I want. Let me go see. AWOL dump verbosity level integer. Dump variables of those definitions. No, not what I want. We probably want something like broadcast. I'm something like Rick with all the burping. Morty, I don't know how to use wall. I know, can you believe it? It's because it's a container. It also doesn't have VI or ed. I mean, this one does, but most don't. All right, so wall on Alpine. It's like such a... Installing wall on Alpine is like so wrong. Alpine wall, by example, a wall, blah, blah, some of the feature, blah, blah. Party files, certain files. A sipping vodka? I have not had Tito's. No, it sounds good though. I'll have to try it. I'm going to try different brands. Maybe I'll get sponsored by a vodka manufacturer. Looks like Firewall. Yeah, it's not what I want. This is I want a broadcast tool. Okay. Equivalent. A wall on Alpine Linux. I know we're going off the rails here. I'm sorry. How to Alpine wall? Because after installing wall, you need to load the following IP tables. No, that's not what I want. How to set up a firewall? I don't want a firewall. Alpine wall firewall for after. No. Is it called broadcast? How to send a broadcast? You know what? I could just cat to the TTY. Messages on Alpine. I could just cat to the TTY. Why don't I just do that? The text messages people are seeing are cell phones. No, not the same thing. Okay, fine. I give up. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do something else. All right, so we have to find out what TTY they're on. User. W. Users. Who? W. Who am I? Oh, you're root. Okay, fine. How many TTYs do we have? Let's go into PT. Let's go into dev. TTY. Oopsie. Titty. Can we say that? Can we say dev titty? I mean, come on. People pronounce everything else. Why can't I say dev titty? I kind of like it. I think it's fun to say that. We all love titties. I mean, come on. Can we just be okay? Titties are fine. Titties are the source of life and sustenance. I know, and somebody on YouTube is gonna like cancel me for saying so. Anyway, set in, set out. Oh, it's proc, right? It's proc. Is it proc? Proc TTY. Suitable for work. I'm trying to keep it suitable for work, and then again, I'm drinking vodka. What's it are you using? That is encapsulated in a command for your reading pleasure. There you go. I'm using Ubuntu server on Windows until I unbox this baby, and then it's going to be the Proxmox heaven. Okay, stay tuned. All right, let's do this. Let's go to. I mean, the whole entire point of this is to try to see if we can clear the screen with ancient versions of EI, including those that have been, built into BusyBox, which is substantially smaller than everything else. And I don't know that it's worth the effort at this point. I'm just having fun. So let's abandon that effort for the sake of efficiency of time, and just know that that's what that does, and that's all. Let's keep moving on. We have like 30% of this file to still cover, and here we go. So to force some files to be specific, all right. So this is actually one of my favorite things that you can do with Vim, is you can use this line right here. Hats off. Is that good enough? I got sunburn. I got really summer last night. I mean, yesterday I was talking to my friend and I was walking around, old time school friend. Mike, cheers if you're out there. And anyway, Control R. I'm not a Control R fan. No. Redo is a thing that you should probably learn. Yes, I agree. Yeah, redo will save you if you like get in trouble. You know what I mean? It's like you have like big troubles. Yeah, it will definitely save you. Like if you control L too much, you might want to control R. I've done that before. I've been writing like a full paragraph in Pandoc, which is all a single command, and then that goes down. You gonna make me take my hat off again? You're just gonna keep redeeming that? Okay. Anyway, so what this buff new file buff read thing does is it says if anything is in this directory, make its file type bash. I don't care what the suffix is. I don't care what the shebang line is. I want the syntax. I really love this. If you're a fan of snippets or, not a fan of suffixes, which I am not, most decidedly not, then you can set the file type, which will therefore trigger all of the syntax and highlighting and all the wonderful things that are already in your bash RC, your Vim RC. And it will work. It will work for your given file type. And you can see I've got a lot of things in here. So I've got my commands YAML. Some of my commands are like very verbose. So my commands.yaml file that I've been using all day, that distro command I just used, is from my commands.yaml file. I want some spell checking on in that, but otherwise I probably don't want spell checking my YAML file. So I go ahead and add it. So that's what that's about. I don't see C. It's because I don't do much in C. I apologize for that profusely. I only do C at Christmas time. Yeah, we do C at Christmas time. That's kind of a tradition now. Every Christmas we write C and we go through head for C, and are reminded why we use other languages besides C. While learning to understand our computer is much better, by the way. You should learn C because of that, if no other reason. Up these channel point amounts? Yeah, I guess I do. See COBOL? No, there's no COBOL. COBOL is awesome, but no COBOL. Let's see. Fix Bork bash detection. Thank you for the follow. So this Vim detection, if I have bash, so this is another thing I did. This is some really, really fancy stuff. This I can recommend to you. This looks to see if I have bin bash or use a bin bash. And if so, it sets it detects bash and it sets my file type as bash. So there's a lot of reasons that I might use bash that don't comply with whatever Vim has decided, bash detection is going to be doing. And that's what this is all about. And hey, look at that. We got another 10% covered of this file. Yeah, you've got to understand C. Eventually you got to learn it, right? C is not necessarily going to get you a job, but it's going to make you better at your job, no matter what job you're in. And so I think you eventually need to learn it no matter what. And I learned amazing things. I remember specifically BMT being very, very helpful while I learned C this Christmas. So we don't rule that out. But we're almost through Vim. And C is one of those languages. A lot of people code with Vim and Emacs, right? So, the Linux kernel is pretty much entirely developed in Emacs. So, and a lightweight version of Emacs. Again, these are software developers. They're dealing with 10 million lines of code. And so Vim might not be the best tool for them. And I don't want anybody to get the wrong idea. Displays all the syntax rules. So this is the fancy thing I showed you, right? So this is my own homegrown tool function to show you what syntax you are on right now. So if you push F2, if you push F2, it'll show you what syntax element you're on. So you can then do :high for highlighting, and you can colorize the highlight of the thing that you want. Or you can add another thing. So I really recommend this if you're going to get into your own syntax highlighting, or you're going to be tweaking syntax highlighting. It's just a nice little convenient function. And I'm super proud of it because that's homegrown. Start at last place you were editing. This just opens up the vimrc file and goes to the end of it. It kind of finds that spot that you were at. It's really annoying if you don't have this on. because you have to like reposition every time. And if you're kind of like me and you go out and in all the time, you want to restart on the same line. You have to have that there. Here's my F keys. So I have my function keys set to do different things. My F1 is like numbers. I got it looks like I got relative numbers on. Yep. And if I want to do the syntax, I told you that one. I have my paste toggle. So this changes me into paste mode. I have my set list, which turns my lines and tabs on. I don't ever use my F keys, but probably should start doing that more. Oh, my wife's home. And then we have cursor line, which is F5, so that turns your if you want to have that line on. Some people have suggested, I think Mossy suggested doing this to help beginners identify that they are in insert mode. That's probably a good idea. And then you can turn spelling on if you want. And FDM indent, I don't even know what that is. Oh, look at that. Okay, so F7 is turning spelling on. Obviously, it's like turning spelling on. It's like, I can't see anything. And then we have F12. What is F12? Why is it F12 for some reason? F12 was taken over. Oh, that's F11. F11 is full screen Vim. So F12. What is F12? I don't even know what that is, but it's a thing. And then what? We have set paste. I already did set paste. I showed you that already. Oh, so we're getting to the end here. Doris is here. Yeah, she hasn't come in yet. She's going to see the vodka on my table and be worried. Watch. Okay, so here we go. So we have disable arrow keys. If you are a beginner, I strongly encourage you to try this. Right? Uncomment all of these. And when you do, I think I have this. Wait. All right. So when you have these, right? If you try to use the up and down arrows, let me try it. I'm gonna have to reload it. If you try to use the up and down arrows, it should not work. Mine's not working right now because my echo is like turned off in the moment. But you see how the arrows are turned off? I mean, there's lots of different ways you can do it. You can do it either this way or this kind of functional way. It's a little bit more fun. So, I don't know why my arrow is not working. Anyway, you can play around with these and you can remap your arrow keys to something else. So when you're on a multi-user system, you're training kids or something, you can turn that on and you can stop them from using them at all. And I don't do this. Oh, there we go. See that? See, A use H instead, use L instead, or something like that. I don't do that anymore, even for beginners, because I have written a thing for VI, which I will post here right now, called VI Survive, which is a guide to using VI easier, in a way that's easier to use than Nano. And so that requires the use of the arrow keys at the beginning. I would rather a 9-year-old start out using the VI with the arrow keys than Nano, for reasons that I get into extensively in earlier boosts. Nano is the devil. It teaches you bad habits with control, which I think is one of the reasons Mossy's been having fun with me, because I generally don't like to encourage beginners or anyone to use control sequences, particularly Control C instead of Escape. That's like really stupid. So better use of arrow keys, better number, increment, decrement. Is Emacs a devil, by the way? No, Emacs is fine. Emacs is fine. It's a fine editor. And if you want to switch to Emacs, look, Emacs is a fine editor. If you want to edit, so my criteria about which editor you should use, and we're kind of done here. In fact, let's put that in conversation. Let me just describe this and we'll move on. So better man page down. So I have added control keys and to like mapping going down and up. So I have Control N and Control P for up and down, one page at a time. This is the same as links and other tools used. So it's we chat There's a bunch of other terminal-based applications that use Control N and P for up and down. It works really well with your two fingers going back, back and forth to go up and down. So I use that for everything. And Control A is my increment with Control A is not my increment. No, Control A is my activation key for tmux, which we're going to cover tmux entirely eventually. I don't know if we'll get to it today, but so anyway, and the last thing in my vimrc is you can actually load other files in your vimrc, and this is nice, as I did with my bashrc, because it means that you can keep your work and your personal files in separate Git repos, and you can write your own setup scripts that create symlinks or whatever, and you don't have to stomp on the other stuff. So maybe you have a macro that's very specific for work, and by doing this, you can put that information, those extra configs or mappings or highlightings or something like that, and you can put those in there. And you can go ahead and put that in there, and you can then run any of those things without having them step on each other. So that's the last little trick that I'll show you. I'm constantly open to new ideas and new tricks. So if you have anything that you want to show me that you'd like me to have me do, let me know. But I would like to talk a little bit about the moment you're at JJ to escape, you have graduated from arrow keys. Yeah, I think mapping JJ to escape is a major mistake because that is not going to be on all systems. And that's coming from a guy who did it because I'm old. And so I map JJ or KJ. So you should know this, people. A lot of people will tell you to map JK or JK or something and get away from the escape thing. The problem was that escape is different. If you don't have that vimrc, you're screwed. You have, probably the most important thing you will ever burn into your muscle memory with regard to Vim editing is the escape sequence. And if you burn JJ or KJ into your muscle memory and you don't have your Vim config, or God forbid you can't even use a Vim config, like with Alpine, you're screwed. You're like really screwed. So I cannot overstate my opposition to using the JK for that kind of thing, when Control left bracket will perfectly work for everybody, anywhere, without any remapping, on every version of VI since the 1970s. So, I would just not do that. Yeah, a lot of people do that too. People like Alt plus H, and I used to do that too. That's actually that's a very common recommendation, is to hold Alt and then push your navigation keys, and that will take you out of it. What they're talking about is if you do this, and if you hold Alt down, not Alt, my Alt is different on every keyboard. That's another reason I don't do it. So if I do insert mode and then I do like Alt, you just have to remember to do it. It's actually nice and easy on your fingers though if you do that. Then you have to go in and out. That, by the way, that I'm pretty sure that is supported everywhere without any remapping at all. So the Alt plus HJK option thing, the Alt plus thing, that is like, so I think that's supported in every version of Vim. It's not supported in VI though, as far as I know. We could check it. Let's go check it, shall we? Let's see if it works. Where's our Docker again? Docker Alpine -IT -rm. Let's go onto Alpine. Whoops. Run Alpine. Let's go see if Alpine has it. I don't think Alpine does have it, honestly. So vi foo.md. I'm the scat man. All right, so now we're gonna do. Let's make a change here, right? So we can't even see what mode we're in. So set show mode. All right, so modified. My wife's listening to accordion music. What the hell? What the hell, honey? So anyway, so we go through here. And we're going to push insert. We're in I mode. See down below. And now I think that it would be option down space. Okay, so that works. That's good. That's really good. That's a good discovery. That's a really, really good discovery. That's a good discovery. That means that in even the most minimal version of EI, which is Alpine by far, which uses BusyBox, you can use Alt or Option and the arrow keys. I mean, JKL and whatever, and that instead of Escape. So my suggestion is to use Control Left Bracket or to use that because it works everywhere. It works in containers and it works everywhere, rather than any kind of remapping that would require you to use a customized vimrc file. And they're it's just as efficient. It's not that much harder to type it. I mean, actually it's easier. So yes, universality. I mean, look, if you're going to throw out universality, that's fine, but at least know you're doing it, and know you're making a conscious decision to make yourself completely incompatible with any number of other systems out there. I'm not against doing that. I have done it, right? There's a lot of vim-isms that have snuck into my muscle memory that are permanently there. But just know that you're doing it. Don't do it on accident and then get surprised later. Okay, so that's all I have to say about that. I think we're done with this one too. In fact, I think we're done with this boost. It is like 5:37. I think we're a little bit early. I don't feel inclined to start TMUX right now. I think we could probably spend a whole day just on TMUX. And I think what we're going to do when we do the TMUX thing next week is we will do TMUX with TMUX customizations. So a lot of people want to know, for example, like how I got the Pomo up here in the corner. How did I do that? That's a TMUXism. That TMUX that's running a command using a Unix filter to put the TMUX time up there and stuff like that. So I think we probably have a good 2 or 3 hours of TMUX, but we'll really cover it after that. There's not going to be a lot to cover after that. I also think that we can probably cover the W3M and the command line searching stuff pretty quickly. That's probably not going to take more than an hour. So let's go ahead and give TMUX a real solid screen, by the way, screen and TMUX. We'll give them a real solid coverage when we do this again next week. So in the meantime, let's go ahead and update this to say Vim configuration overview. If you started this video with me and you're like, what the hell, why is there no TMUX in here? Well, maybe you've seen the updated comments on that. TMUX Resurrect, yeah, I love TMUX Resurrect until I don't. Sometimes it doesn't work actually. But I mean, that's another reason to give TMUX more time, because there's going to be a lot of people that are going to have ideas about TMUX and what to add to it. TMUX is a really phenomenally huge, amazing thing. In fact, in my opinion, and this is kind of a preview for next week, TMUX plus Vim with a certain number of Vim filters covers the same ground as many IDEs out there. And we'll talk about that. We'll have a big debate about whether, I don't know if you noticed, but you didn't see anything about paste buffers or other than the CCCY or the DDD stuff. You didn't see a lot about buffers and macros and things like that. Your machine, why would it crash on your machine? But yeah, and we'll talk about why TMUX can fill the role of cutting and pasting, why it can, it fills a legacy role that takes over from screen and all those stuff. You're going to build an ID to replace Eclipse. Yeah, well, we're not going to replace Eclipse anytime soon. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this YouTube video for today. Thank you for being here. I'm actually, quite frankly, I'm really excited to open up my server over here and play with Proxmox tonight, which probably means I'm not going anywhere. So I'm going to be plugging myself. I mean, people watch my stream because they like me to cover the sunset and go skateboarding and things like that too. Not tonight. Tonight I'm going to be geeking out and playing with Proxmox and loading it up on here. I don't know. We'll see. What time is it? I might sneak out for the sunset really quick. But geeking out is kind of the way to go today, specifically because we're in the middle of packing this place up. So thank you for being here, and do the sub thing, whatever you want to do. Please spread the word. I do this all for fun and because I feel like it's needed. Don't get mad, get busy, right? Don't get mad, get busy, and that's what motivates me mostly. But I appreciate you spreading the word with everyone. And I'm going to go ahead and cancel the video. Not cancel, I'm going to stop the recording right now so I can go ahead and post this video. I'm going to take a little break to go talk to my wife who just came back. And are you getting better? Good. ESXi, and we'll talk about why I'm not doing ESXi and Proxmox. I promise you I'll talk all about that and stuff. Okay, so bye. All right, end recording and scene. All right, so we're all recorded now. It's funny because I didn't write anything about that. Review of my personal .vimrc